Good evening. The time is now 5 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome those who are participating in the Board of Education meeting in person and those watching the meeting via live streaming on YouTube. We would ask that anyone addressing the board to please use the microphone at the podium and identify themselves for the record. As a reminder, the link to the meeting is on the district webpage under the Board of Education. The streaming will run through the end of the meeting. In the event that there's disruption in streaming, I will pause until it is reestablished. All right. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like for Adriana Burney to please lead us in the pledge. You come up here to the front.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job, thank you very much.
She's going to get this in the
She's
record.
going to be recognized.
Oh, yes.
Ms. Chavez, will you please announce the meeting?
This meeting has been announced in accordance with the New Mexico Open Meetings Act and the Los Lunas Schools Open Meetings Resolution, and is a legally constituted meeting of the Los Lunas Schools Board of Education.
All right, we'll move to item D, approval of the agenda. Ms. Chavez, are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
Board President Otero, there are no changes or deletions to the agenda this evening.
All right, with that, I would stand for a motion regarding the approval of the agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Simoia,
I move we approve the agenda as presented by Ms. Chavez and her staff.
we have a motion to approve the agenda. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Dana Sanders. Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Rickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Simoia, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The agenda is approved by a vote to 5-0. We'll move to item E, the public comment. Ms. Chavez, do we have anyone requesting public comment tonight?
Board President Otero, we do not have any request for public comment tonight.
Okay. Then we'll move All right.
One sec.
All right. We'll try this again. Item F, approval of consent item to stand for motion.
Mr. President, I move that we consent the entire agenda with the exception of item M4, approval of purchases, Imagine Learning Curriculum and Instruction for Digital Credit Recovery, 11,000 operational, and item M6, approval of Fine Arts Education Grant Application 2026-2027 between New Mexico PED and Los Lunas Schools.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Vickers to approve all the consent items on the consent sheet with the following exceptions. Finance Committee items M4A, approval of purchases, Imagine Learning Curriculum and Instruction for Digital Credit Recovery, 11,000 operational. And item M6, approval of Fine Arts Education Grant Application 2026-2027 between NMPED and Los Lunas Schools. Do we have a second?
I second.
We have a second for Dr. Osowski. Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Simoia, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The consent items were approved by a vote of 5-0. Okay, we'll move to item H on the agenda, that's Superintendents of Schools reports. Susan D. Chavez.
Thank you, Board President Otero. I would like to invite Mr. Seiss to the podium to introduce our recognition for this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Chavez, members of the board. It is with great pride and enthusiasm and excitement, once again, I proudly turn things over to Mr. Bill Hayes, our District Athletic Director, to recognize yet another state champion from Valencia High School this evening. Mr. President, members of the Los Lunas Schools Board of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to speak about my favorite part of the job, one of our student athletes. So first, I'd like Adriana Burney. Can you come join us up here real quick? Go and give her a round of applause. Adriana Burney is a 2026 state powerlifting champion, coached by Coach Jose Lopez, located right over here. Coach Lopez, if you want to give a word. He's been the head powerlifting coach for 3 years since it was introduced as an NMAA sanctioned activity. Next slide, please. So just to go over a few things with Adriana, first and foremost, she has a cumulative GPA of 3.02. She is a dual sport athlete in the sport of wrestling, powerlifting, and softball. And just to give you perspective, powerlifting is one of the sports that kind of crosses, it's not really a winter sport. It begins in January and crosses into April. So that means at one point in time, both of those sports are going on at the same time. So she's a multi-sport and a dual sport athlete. And this is Adriana's first year powerlifting, and she's already gotten the state title. And to go over a few of her numbers here, bench, we're at 85 pounds, squat 165, and 95, I'm sorry, my eyesight's going. And then deadlift is 215, is that correct? Perfect. For a total of 475 pounds at the 2026 state competition. So I think that, give her a big round of applause for her. And yeah, congratulations to Adriana Burney, you know, Mr. President, members of the school board, Ms. Chavez, we'll stand for any comments or questions you may have.
I'm sorry, you're almost a member of the 500 Club, you know that. Is that what you're gonna come next year? For those of you that don't know what that means, she has to get that total to 500. There are grown adults that can't do that. There are grown men that can't do that. So that is incredible. I didn't come anywhere near this, and wow.
Thank you.
So you pretty much bench your weight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more.
She bench it, yeah. I am just really, really impressed. Thank you very much for what you do. Thank you for, you're a dual sport, multi-sport, and an honor student too. This is incredible. I'm sorry, I'm just overwhelmed. That is incredible. Congratulations. Congratulations, coach. Congratulations, mom. Dad, you did great.
Wait.
Yeah, it's amazing, the really great accomplishment, and it just proves to you that size doesn't matter. It's just heart and tenacity. Good job.
Thank you.
So what did it feel like for you when you realized that you took first?
It felt pretty great, and I didn't think it was like real.
How long did it take before you really understood it was real?
The second I saw.
So after that, anybody want to take you out, or they were like, no, can't take her out because she could kick my fanny? That part of it.
I'm not too sure.
It takes a lot of guts to get up
Yeah.
there and work hard and show up every day and persevere and do things that aren't traditional for
Yeah.
women. And it takes even more heart and more courage to break glass ceilings. And you have started those at a young age. So I congratulate you, and I look forward to watching your success. And I want to congratulate the coach and the families for supporting her, because it's not easy being the first. And it's not easy being the one who challenges all of those other myths and misconceptions. So congratulations.
Thank you.
That is incredible.
Ms. Sanders? Have any comments?
Well, my goodness. The other thing that I've noticed, because I observed the entire time that she's been sitting there, she's got a beautiful smile on her face all the time. She is also, I can tell by just her answers to what people are saying, that she's humble. And what an example to people. There's no haughtiness about you, young lady, which means you're not full of yourself. And that's an example for people to follow. Not to mention all of these things. And I won't ask you what you weigh, because that's what, that's not supposed to be asked of girls or women. But I'm going to venture to guess you're lifting far more than what your weight is there.
Yeah.
And especially you're benching that kind of weight. That's insanity. You're benching yourself. And sometimes in women's competitions, they say you're doing really well if you can do half your weight. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, congratulations.
She can deadlift a grown man, basically.
Yeah, could we see
Back to
an example of that? Yes. Pick one.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Let's not pick one right now. Let's save that for another day, maybe. The
No, I
camera's
really
still
like to
going,
see
right?
it.
Okay, Adriana, when they told me we had a power lifter coming, I expected to see a 6'5" person come in here, and I'm really surprised and I'm impressed. And what grade are you in again?
I'm a junior.
Junior, so you still have time to grow.
Yeah.
And, but I can't say how impressed I recognize your family. Who's with you today?
This whole second row.
But tell us who they are.
Is your
Tell us
grandfather?
who they are.
This is my pop, and then my dad, my little brother Ryan, my mom, my grandma, and my little sister
Awesome.
Thank you.
Welcome and thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, I recognize the name. I know the Bernies. I went to school with your great aunt, I think. And so, you know, when I saw the name, you know, you come from a good family. So we're just totally impressed to have you here tonight. And thank you for making the time.
Thank you, guys.
You know, so we have a little certificate for you here to acknowledge our appreciation for what you're doing. And I promise we're going to go watch one of your matches one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our coach's diet.
And then you'll want to come on down and say hello with me. There you go.
Look, brother and sister are gonna need some of
Yeah, they're
that.
like, ooh, they woke up.
Congratulations, you're so impressive.
Like pork candy, there is more.
Oh, yeah. She's not in season any longer. She can have all the sugar she wants. Coach is going, no, no, no.
Oh, they're so excited.
It's for her little brother and sister.
That's right. Oh, oh.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Adriana, congratulations.
So you folks don't have to stay here now, honestly. We're bored, and if you have to go do anything other than be here, it's okay for you to leave. We won't have her tackle you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Enjoy the last 2 days of school. Thank you.
Well, I could finish half my way. I could finish half my way. I couldn't finish.
Next, I'd like to welcome Mrs. McMahon, our Director of Facilities, for our monthly construction update.
Yeah, oh, I don't know how you follow that. We're out of candy too, just so you know.
I still have some.
Oh, yes.
Jesus, for today. President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, apologies for just walking in the door. We had a water heater break line at Sundance today, so this afternoon, so they're taking care of that as we speak. But we'll give you a bit of an update of things that have been happening for the month of May and some plans for the summer. So with that, we're talking about water heaters. We recently replaced a water heater at Century High School in the kitchen, as we have 2 district plumbers now, so they're able to do further assessments on our equipment, and we're looking at, just as equipment is aging out, being a little bit more up to date and repairing those and getting them full replacement. Another item is some of our backflow preventers. So each of our sites, we have that for water. Some of the older sites, they were buried underground, so we're raising those so that we can better maintain them. We can do annual inspections on them and kind of bring those up to a usable surface. Another item, which is the picture to the left, we have a Valencia High School Aux Gym LED lighting. We are replacing the lights completely, fixtures with LED fixtures in there. It's been a challenge in maintaining those throughout the year with bulbs or balls that get hit up there, so we felt it was best just to do a full replacement. In the gym, both of our high school gyms have the same lighting in them already. Another item that we are working around the district is doing annual fire hydrant testing at all of our school sites. So we're bringing in a company to come in and do pressure tests on all the water to ensure we have adequate pressure on our hydrants, and that will be something we do annually going forward. And then the next slide, I don't have any other pictures of ongoing progress that we have, but just we've been gearing up a lot for the summer. So looking at doing things on our sites. So just kind of go over some of those projects that we do every year. We do gym flooring maintenance on all of our wood gym floors. So that's just going through, doing a deep clean on those, adding coating to them, sure we're protecting the wood. We also do annual field turf maintenance. So we do deep grooming and then GMAX testing to ensure that we're keeping our GMAX rating at safe, playable surface. We are also doing some flooring replacement. So it's a combination of either carpet or LVT tile at some of our sites. Some of those schools right now that we have on our list are some classrooms at LLE, Tomé Elementary, Valencia Middle School has a few classrooms, and then Century High School. We are also looking at repairing some of our canopies and painting. As the painting has weared out and exposed that metal, we'll be going through and either really scraping off, repainting, and surfacing of those to protect those surfaces. So we'll be doing that at Bosque Farms Elementary and the courtyard of Valencia Middle School. So we're going to start with the courtyard awning that has some severe peeling on it, taking that off, repainting that structure. We are also looking at doing fencing along the Sundance Elementary Parent Drive loop to kind of protect from that car access to the field as they're picking up students and lining up. We also have various playground part replacement. Specifically at Valencia Elementary, we're seeing a lot of wear on the edge of that playground. So right now we're able to buy those replacement parts and preserve that playground. We are also in-house fixing a lot of concrete repair on the Desert View basketball court and various sites at the moment with our in-house team. We will also be doing parking lot maintenance at KGE. So what this will be is doing crack repair, restriping, repainting any directional arrows on that campus. And then another test that we're going to be doing that'll be an annual thing is a 90-minute emergency lighting test. So one of the things is we do check our lights monthly through a PM schedule with our maintenance team, but one of the things that we should be doing is running a 90-minute test. So we shut off the power to those, allow those lights to be on for 90 minutes. It's all your emergency exit lights to ensure that the battery is adequate life. We'd hate to, we test them for a couple seconds, but to really run those for a length of time so we can see what batteries ultimately need to be replaced if they are going to be needed to use for longer than an hour. So that will also be a third-party company coming in and conducting those tests at all of our school sites. And that'll be, again, an annual thing we do going forward. And again, we just want to thank our custodial and maintenance staff. They're tackling all the deep cleaning that we do and all the amazing work orders we get at the end of the school year as we're able to get in these classrooms and do some more extensive upkeep in each space. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Questions? No?
No.
Just comment really quick. I know that the playground at Valencia Elementary, that's over 10 years, because I remember driving my dad by, he made a comment about what a beautiful, fun playground it was, and he's been gone for more than 10 years. So, yeah, I guess it's ready for that. And then just a special thanks to the maintenance staff for their assistance with Miss Chavez organizing chairs. So, because I guess she's an honorary member of maintenance staff now, but they did a great job and really want to appreciate that. Thank you.
Comments, questions?
No, thanks.
I have a couple. So I'm anxious to kind of know when you talked about the parent drop-off and pickup, not only at Sundance, but KGE seems to have a lot of fun with the parent drop-off. It seems to always bring up some concerns. Do we have any plans to see if we can address that, or?
We are currently working with an engineer team. We did receive a grant through the DOT grant, and we have to hire an engineer. They do the drawings. We're about close to wrapping that up. We're waiting for some earthwork testing of the soil conditions to see what extent that would have to be underneath that asphalt. But the plan is to pave and add necessary concrete curbing to assist with the drainage flow of that water. That would be non-permeable now, but we do have plans to asphalt the surface.
Okay, and how's stuff coming at Ann Parish?
Ann Parish, fast. We are wrapping up, we pretty much wrapped up our design of the overall school. Now we're getting into just the fine details of sewer systems, drainage flows, final details of roofing, water downspouts. But as we wrap up all of the engineering side, we're hoping this summer to have a final page turner with PSFA to review those construction drawings. And once we get the green light from PSFA and CID on those plans, then we can go out to bid for a contractor.
And then we bought land next to or adjacent to Bosque Farms, and we had some conversations about what we were going to do there because there's an existing building that either needed to be demolished or talking about a different roadway to honor the former owner. Have we done anything there?
The only thing we have done there is we did add a new parent drop-off loop extension with just aggregate crushed millings of asphalt. It's not permanently paved. In order to do that route, we did have to remove the adjacent storage, utility shed, different awning cover that they had there. So the building still remains, but as far as everything around that building has been disconnected as far as utilities goes, and it is an active parent drop-off loop at the moment.
So is that building secure? I had some parents call and think that that might be quite the summer place to go.
Currently, it is locked. We have not had or witnessed any attempts to enter that building at the moment, other than that Bosque Farms being able to use it for their fun house during Halloween.
Okay, good enough. Thank you very much.
In follow-up to that, you know, that property used to belong to Mayor Allen way back in time, and that's one reason we had to go 2 stories with Bosque Farms. But you know, eventually, I guess he went out, passed on, and you're fortunate to acquire that land, and you know, you can add that into your plan as, you know, as we can afford budgets and what have you, but, you know, I understand what you're dealing with there, and I just want to, that's really all I have to say. I really don't have any comments. I just want to thank you, Ms. McMinn, for you and your staff for what they're doing, and I know you have a busy year and you probably have a busy summer, so thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McMinn. I'd like to invite Ms. Tracek to the podium to provide her monthly budget, finance, and audit reports.
Okay, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. Our monthly state of finances. So the first section we have is the expenses, and as always, we have the budget authority amount listed first for all the different funds, and then the budget authority after bars. The highlighted blue are the ones that we had a few bars go through for the current month, so some of those numbers will change. And then the amount, the next column is the amount that we have spent or encumbered, and the remaining balance and remaining balance percentage in the last 2 columns. So you can kind of see where we're at, where we're getting to. We're getting close. A lot of these things are posted up to, some things already posted for May, and so we have just about 1 more month to hit before we finish this fiscal year. There are, you know, just a few, like there is a new fund. We've never had a 29135, but we will be receiving payments in lieu of taxes from one of the companies, one of the MOUs for this month. And then let's see the revenue. Again, the revenue, then we have all the different funds. The first column is the budgeted revenue amount to be received, revenue that we are able to use for this fiscal year. The total revenue that's been received so far. The next column is prior year revenue, so that's revenue that we have received in this fiscal year that relate to the prior year's RFRs or revenue that was generated from last fiscal year. The difference between the total revenue less the prior year revenue gives you your current revenue. So the balance remaining would be the expected revenue for this year less what we have received currently, and then that percentage. If you go down to the bottom, we should have about, like on a monthly basis, there is 8% time remaining. So the operational has a slightly higher with the 9% there. That's actually at an 8.5. but that is because we do receive, our indirect costs are quarterly, so we'll receive quite a bit of indirect cost revenue that'll come in June. So it's slightly high. But the actual revenue is on target. So there are a few other things on here where some of the, you'll get, when you see the negatives, it's actually because we actually have received more revenue than budgeted for, so that's good. And the one child care, like the child care grant where you have the little formula looking wrong, and that's because it's dividing by zero. We did not budget for any revenue to come in that fund, and actually have received revenue. And that's because last year we did not receive any revenue for that fund. So nothing was budgeted for this current year, but we received. So that's, again, a good thing. We received revenue even though we didn't have anything budgeted. So, are there any questions on either one of those two reports, expenses or revenue?
Questions, comments?
I have a couple.
Okay.
So, when we're looking at impact aid for special education and impact aid for Indian education, we're sitting at 76% and 68% remaining respectfully, and we're at the end of the school year.
And we are talking in the expense?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, yeah, in the expense. So those funds are generated by the student count from last year, correct? I mean, as we went into fiscal year
There's-
25, 26. So they're generated from last year's counts, basically coming in for this year.
There's probably a mixture of both
Okay.
this year and last year. When it comes to impact aid, I've never really been able to pinpoint down, like for the beginning of the year, we did not receive anything. We were kind of worried, just with, I know how everyone was kind of worried about what was going to happen with federal funds. And I really wasn't worried about any of them, except for the impact aids, because for the longest time, nothing came in. And so towards the end of the year, we finally started getting revenue. So I wasn't sure what was happening with what was going on with the federal government on those particular funds, but money ended up coming in, so.
I appreciate that, and I imagine in order to accomplish some of the plans for using those funds, probably came out of operational. But what are we gonna do to spend those down on kids? Because I'm a little concerned that we're sitting here with a pretty high balance at the end of the year and we have kids leaving.
Those are, so I'm not going to speak for what the plans are, because that's not what, but I can tell you that that is a fund that the money gets deposited, and that will actually be cash carried over. So whatever is not spent will be cash that will go into the next year. So we will, it's not like if we do not, there are some funds here, if we don't spend it by June 30th, we will lose the money. Those two are not those types of funds. So
And,
those
Board
have,
Member Dr. Osowski, what we've traditionally used the impact aid special education funds for, it's directly to go back to the classroom. Our special education teachers are allocated a budget, and they're able to spend that money at the beginning of the school year. And we ask that they put in their requisition request by the end of September, so that they have the items before the end of the school year. This year, we had to wait because the payments were delayed.
Right, okay.
and there is, I think it might have been a little bit nervous because if the money wasn't coming in, and there are some salaries that are attached to this. So that's another reason why some of the funds haven't been spent, because they're, if there's salaries that are attached to it. So they might be encumbered if it's on a contract, but.
I appreciate that. So going down to fund number 31703, Senate Bill 9, state match cash, what is that?
That is our state match for having our 2 mil, and that money came very late in the year also. So we were not given that award until late, and that money will carry over. There are some years we don't even receive it. So we do usually try to even keep a balance going, but whatever is not spent in there also, that money is also, it's not on a reimbursable basis. They actually, once we receive the award, about a month later, that money comes in and is wired to us. So it'll be cash. And so whatever we don't spend this year will be spent next year. We'll be able to start, since we received it, we'll be able to start July 1st spending that fund.
I think my biggest concern is if kids generate these funds, I want to see that they're spent on kids in the current year. And especially since we have high academic need, to make sure that we're doing, we're expending funds to get those academic needs met, because we obviously have some deficiencies and some gaps, so.
But
we
the
need-
particular state fund that you just last spoke about is going to be, it's maintenance type of money. So it's going to be for the flooring and this is, when it comes to 2 mil, like if something needs to be repaired here, we could use that. When it comes to state match can only be used at the school sites.
Okay, good to know, thank you.
But it'll be painting, flooring, when any type of thing
So ongoing
repairs.
improvements like-
It's, other than, the only difference there too, also with 2 mil versus state match, is it, for some reason, can't go towards preventative maintenance.
That's correct.
So if we're going to, annually have our monthly, have our elevators,
Inspected or whatever.
preventative maintenance done, that can't come out of the state match money, but can come out of 2 mil.
Great, thank you, thank you for the details.
Thank you.
Uh,
You have any-
Okay, yeah. The child care block grants, CYFD, who is served by that money?
That money goes to the aides that are taking care of the children in the grads program. So that would, so that goes to the employees that are there. And so each year, that varies according to how many CYFD children are in the, so you never know if you're, when you have revenue, so one year you could have 5 kids and all of them could be CYFD. They're eligible for the CYFD, and the other ones may not. One next year, all 5 might not be CYFD kids. So you only receive revenue for the CYFD kids.
So how is that funding impacted by the governor's free childcare plan? Do we get paid for those kids?
So
From the state
how did
level?
that, they just,
So Board Member, Mr. Vickers, and members of the board, so we are currently waiting to see how that directly impacts the grads program. They do fall under the universal daycare system or requirement. However, they are specifically, this is earmarked for CYFD. So in the future, we may just change that over to universal daycare. So it'll be a different funding. Because the grant money has really decreased over the years through the CYFD program.
Okay, because I was just wondering if, we need to claim it then, if she's going to give it.
Yeah, it's just so new still. We're still working out all the ins and outs of it. And then we currently do not have a great amount of students, little ones that are attending the grads program.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tracek. Did you want to mention the audit?
I know it before the questions came. Sorry about that. Okay. Actually, for our audit committee, the month of May, the audit committee is not, has not met so far. However, the special audit will be presented tomorrow, so that will be the only thing we will have in the month of May. Our regular audit is over, is been released. However, even though we will not be in the audit season after tomorrow, we will still continue to meet, maybe not every single month the way we have, but we will still meet, still make plans and kind of keep up. So The next audit meeting is scheduled for June 9th, so.
Thank you, Ms.
Any
Tracek.
questions?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Tracek. I'd like to invite Ms. Kathy House to the podium so she can introduce our next presentation.
Hi, good evening. Board President Otero, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. It's my pleasure to be able to bring Director Chelsea Cervantes up, who will walk us through and bring up other members of our AI task force.
Thank you, Ms. House. Mr. President, members of the board, Ms. Chavez, thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to speak tonight about the Los Lunas Schools AI Task Force. It is my pleasure to head up this task force, and I am also going to turn this presentation over to Michael Romero and Mike Good. Michael Romero is a digital learning coach, and he is an active member of the AI Task Force. And Mike Good, of course, oversees our technology department and is also an active member of our AI task force.
Thank you, Chelsea. Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Superintendent Chavez. I wanted to go over this presentation about the strides that we've made with our AI task force. And this is our framework for responsible innovation. Go to the next slide. So our journey with the AI task force really began last year. Ms. Chavez directed us to create a task force headed by Chelsea Cervantes. And so we reached out to a couple of different coaches, administrators, teachers, and created the AI task force. We had some professional development for district leaders and coaches across our campuses. One of the big accomplishments is we drafted and released the Los Lunas Schools AI philosophy. And I think that's really important because according to our Stanford report on AI, only 50% of public schools have direction with AI. And so I'm really proud that our district does have that. We also had some, like I said, professional development at school sites with teachers. We also took a big undertaking because with AI and it being so new and ever developing, we wanted to create some resources to help teachers and educators navigate with AI. So on the handout you guys have, you have two examples of the posters that were created. We gathered together coaches, teachers, and principals, and you can see our principals working here in the corner. And we drafted some resources which I think are really good. We also did some very limited AI data collection with staff and students, just getting some temperature checks with students and staff. Next slide. Some of the accomplishments for this school year. At the beginning of the school year, working with Susie, we put together a professional development session for all teachers. So every teacher, every content level received this. And it was some basics on AI. We shared the AI philosophy, and we also shared those classroom resources that I talked to you about. Another thing that we did is we developed an AI program approval rubric and a process. So now when teachers go to submit like a work ticket, or if there's a teacher who finds an AI tool, they can go on our Incident IQ ticket program and submit a request for an AI program to be used within the schools. We also really had some focused AI integration and learning on our approved programs. So for example, some of our approved programs are Magic School, Gemini, and we also put AI guidance for students on all of our secondary Canvas courses. Things like stopping and checking to see, is this valid? Where is this coming from? Make sure you double check your AI, using it responsibly. Go to the next slide. And some of our next steps. Right now, the Educational Technology Department, we're curating some resources like a curriculum at a glance to help with digital citizenship and learning around AI for teachers if they choose to integrate that into their classrooms. We're also going to be looking at our approved AI programs for an ongoing review. AI is something that's constantly changing. New versions are constantly being released, and we want to make sure that they align with our philosophy. And we really want to dive deeper next year into some further AI training for staff, especially around the areas of lesson design to prevent academic dishonesty and student safety and security. And we want to update our public-facing documents around the work that we've done with AI, really telling our story on our website. So if parents have questions, they know where to go and get their questions answered. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Morado. One more big step in this process. We would like to use this as a basis to bring a policy to the board. So we have an AI-approved board policy. Many school districts across the country are moving towards this policy to have in place because AI is definitely a newer tool. However, the speed at the advancement and the intelligence of how quickly this has moved forward has been great. The AI ChatGPT, I believe, was released in October of 22 as a beta, and now 4 years later, almost 4 years later, we have seen marked gains in what is available and what students and teachers can access through AI. So in an ever-changing world, AI is a major focus at this point because we know it's readily available to our students. And you can access it through Google Gemini, through a ChatGPT app, through many apps that are available through the App Store on Apple, such as Poe. There's just many options and resources that are available, and we want to make sure that we are incorporating digital citizenship. We will also be bringing that curriculum to you over the summer, and it may be late summer.
For digital citizenship?
Correct.
Questions?
Was this written with AI?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a question.
I said, was this written with AI?
Was this written with AI? You know what, I'm going to defer to Chelsea. She drafted, and we all approved it as a task force.
I will say with full transparency, yes, absolutely.
Okay, you know what, I saw it.
Yeah,
I see
yes,
it. I see
yes,
that little
and with
pattern.
many revisions and input, however, because you'll see that the one of our pieces within the AI philosophy is to remain human-centered, and so that's important to us. So we ensured that we took it back to our people and asked for the revisions and ensured that it really was a mirror reflection of our goals for Los Lunas schools.
Can I?
It was heavily edited by human beings.
What I can say is, yes, I see that, and it's a great example of how AI can help you and not fight that all the way, right? Like, it's a tool.
Yep, exactly.
So, compliments there. Because your thing down here said you gotta be honest.
That's absolutely right. I will also say just really quickly, when we did first present this to principals, we did model that transparency and said we, in all fairness, we did draft this utilizing an AI tool. We want to model what we want to see from adults all the way down to our youngest learners.
Thank you.
I'd just like to mention, AI is just incredibly powerful and used in every aspect of life, really. So we need to teach the kids how to use it properly.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, very good work, thanks.
I have questions, but I'm in a really critical mood about it, so I don't want to take it out on you two. I'll wait till I see the proposed philosophy and come up. So be warned.
Absolutely.
To be fair.
Absolutely.
Okay?
We expect it.
Good. That's good. I am so glad that we have transparency. Okay.
Well, you know, there's obvious advantages, and, you know, it's the trend that's going on. I mean, there's a lot of good that can be done with it, but there's also a lot of bad that can happen, and, you know, so as a district, we're going to support superintendent and you all in what we need to do to stay with the times and maintain that honesty and improve people's thoughts and the way they can use it. So, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me a moment to make a quick comment. I just wanted to talk a little bit about when AI was first released and we became aware of it. I remember the administrative meeting we were at and everybody was looking at each other like, we have to block this, right? And so we actually, the goal of the task force that we have, we didn't create AI. We're responding to the technologies that are out there and trying to ensure that we're using it in the best manner possible. And so one of the things that we've done that Michael spoke about was we have this approval process for various AI tools. So we're not just turning everything loose and turning everybody loose with AI. We're making sure that teachers have proper training. We're making sure that only approved sites are accessible. And so we're trying to put some parameters around the usage within the district. And I feel like if we were to turn the other way, turn a blind eye, or just say, hey, we're not going to use it, we're going to block it, that would not be a constructive approach. The general educational approach that's constructive, we believe, is acceptance, but using it very responsibly and carefully.
We attended a state school board presentation when they had just released the New Mexico PED had released the AI guidance, and what I found very interesting in that document was the levels of we're going to go ahead and roll this out at an elementary, roll this out at the middle school, and roll out this at the high school. And one of the comments that was made is the kindergartners that are coming into your district are already using this. And so if you're not embracing it, there's going to be a huge gap in between their understanding of what you're trying to get across to them versus how they learn at home. So very interesting, but thank you.
And Ms. Simoia, you could see on this presentation here?
Yeah, that document.
Yeah, in the bottom right-hand corner, one of our digital learning coaches, Miss Aragon, she invited me to help her with a lesson. This is a first grade classroom at LLE, and we really used Common Sense Media. They have some really good AI lessons, and this lesson was all about determining if something is real or fake. And so just starting that, getting those conversations with the kids, it was really nice to see. And you could see little girls, if you had AI, what would you have it do? If what would you have it replicate? So even a lot of times we think of it in the secondary sphere, but it really begins with our younger learners.
I'm glad you're addressing it. I'm glad there's some good instructions starting to come up. I'm happy to hear that.
Good.
Look forward to the draft policy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Thank you, Mr. Vantas. Thank you, Mr. Good. We know we have much work to do to move AI forward in our district. We'll be bringing updates to you more frequently as the school year unfolds for next school year. It's important. It's a very important topic, and we are asked very, very often by community members, teachers, and students the best routes to move forward. So thank you, team. Thank you for your work. Our graduation ceremonies for Century High School, Los Lunas High School, and Valencia High School occurred yesterday. We are very proud of our graduates and wish them well on their future endeavors. Thank you to all our staff who made the senior celebrations possible. We appreciate all you do for our students during this extremely busy time of year. As one season ends, we welcome another one and prepare for future. So we are currently in the planning stages for the class of 2027 graduation ceremonies. As soon as plans are finalized, we will release the day and times of the graduations. We know that families are anxious to prepare for next graduation, so we are in those planning stages. Preparations for next school year continue to occur each day. We encourage all our parents who have yet to complete registration for next school year to do so as soon as possible. On June 3rd, parents will need to use a different link to register their children. We are encouraging all parents and guardians of current students to complete this process to assist with a smooth transition to Synergy. Please contact your child's school if you have any questions about registration. I believe last week we had a large number of returning students register and complete registration. We're hoping for an even greater number by May 22nd. We want to make sure that parents have an easy registration process. We know that there'll be much work on the back end, but if we have all of our students currently registered before they leave, that will help greatly with the transition to Synergy. So we're making a strong push for that. And thank you to the school sites and staff who are calling parents and gently reminding them to complete this one last task before summer vacation begins. The spring sports season concluded over the weekend. We congratulate all our student athletes for competing with class. Thank you to our coaches for supporting our student athletes. It was a successful year for many of our sports programs, and we look forward to next year. We celebrated her earlier, but I would like to once again recognize our VHS powerlifting champion, Adriana Burney. Congratulations on your achievement. We are very proud of you. And one of our teachers, Mr. Jesse Moya, was recently recognized in the Albuquerque Journal and KKOB News Radio. Mr. Moya received recognition as a New Mexico hero. It is a statewide initiative honoring up to 250 individuals who represent the very best of New Mexico. Congratulations to Mr. Moya. We are so proud of you. And I would like to introduce, I would like to introduce two new members of our administrative team. We have Ms. Charlotte Johnson, who is our new principal at Raymond Gabaldon Elementary. And we also have Ms. Aura Acubal, who is our new principal at Valencia Middle School. Ms. Acubal actually started yesterday, so she hit the ground running. And Ms. Johnson will assume her new role as soon as the new school year starts, which is right around the corner. So welcome, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Acubal. Thank you for being here tonight. The last day of school for this year is on Thursday. We wish all our students, families, and staff a restful and fun summer. Please remember that we have free meal programs throughout the district for our students. Information is on our website. Thank you to the Osuna Schools staff for all you did this school year. It was a busy and productive year. Thank you for making it memorable and supporting our students each day. We look forward to having a busy and restful summer, and we're ready to welcome next school year as soon as it comes. And this concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Okay, we'll move to item I on the agenda, board commendations. Ms. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to take a different approach with the commendations. I'm going to make a couple of statements, and I really have had a difficult time with this being on our agenda from the start of my tenure. I think that our superintendent does a fine job of recognizing our staff and students, and I think that we're missing people. I think that we cannot possibly recognize everyone who deserves recognition. It just happens to be based on what we might know particularly or personally, and I think that we might need to let that be something that we let our superintendent take care of for us. Not that we can't occasionally mention that, but to actually have it formally on a board agenda. Somebody is going to get, inevitably, we're gonna miss someone. And so and those people deserve as much attention as anybody that we actually name. And so I just think I have a problem with it, and therefore I don't have any commendations tonight.
Ms. Seguin.
Welcome to our two new administrators. Are you sure you can run now? Don't run. She knows where to find me. I was going to say, we will hunt you down. That's why we have law enforcement in the room. She got the little chip, right? The little apple. I just want to make sure. So
she's not aware of that.
She's not aware. Oh, I was supposed to mention that.
AI.
I did want to go ahead and I appreciate Ms. Sanders' comments, because inevitably we're going to miss somebody. And I was not aware. I was aware we had a petite power lifter that was the state champion. I was not aware of how petite, and I was not aware that she was almost a member of the 500 Club, which has eluded me. This is amazing. So I did want to recognize her. To the principals, the staff, maintenance, teachers, stay strong. Just a few more days. Maintenance, poor things, they've got all summer. So I appreciate in advance what you guys are going to do. And it's not like the teachers stopped their job all summer either. So, but yeah, stay strong. A couple more days. okay? Been a little breather, all right? Thank you.
Mr. Vickers.
I know it was mentioned already, but I just wanted to commend our maintenance staff for all the work they did yesterday, basically changing the entire scene for 3 different graduations and, you know, limited amount of time and a lot of movement of heavy stuff. But just great work, and they were there a long time. Really appreciate them. We couldn't do something like that without them, so appreciate that.
So I want to go back a little bit from our last meeting and talk about a couple of things that I thought were really, they kind of get glanced over because the end of the school year goes so quickly. But we had amazing academic letter ceremonies where we got to see so many students be recognized for hard work, consistently committing themselves to academic excellence, and had very nice ceremonies with parents present and parents being happy to see their child's efforts being recognized. And there's a lot of work behind those scenes. The same thing with the robing ceremonies, watching moms and dads and go through that journey. And there's a ton of work there. It's not just the work that we saw yesterday, but there's a lot of work over this last month, and people get tired. And it was just, I wanted to raise that as some awareness that so many of these things go on. I appreciate Mrs. Sanders' comments about we're going to miss somebody. It's possible. I haven't yet in 27 months had any complaints that we missed anybody. And what I value about the commendation part is when I get to see something positive, I get to raise it, because quite possibly I'm seeing something, but somebody else is seeing something completely different. It gives me a broader perspective of the district. And I would hate to put that all on our superintendent, that she would be required to let us know everything that's good, et cetera. And we have a lot of opportunities in this district to shine. I also wanted to thank Mr. Otero and congratulate Mr. Vickers. Mr. Otero did some fabulous modeling because he went to the daddy-daughter dance in April, which I think for dads in this particular community to know how important their influence is on their young children, especially their daughters. I thought, coming from the president of the board, that was remarkable. So I was very happy to hear that. And I heard you're a fairly good dancer. Okay? With a little bit. I heard that you got out there and it was very sweet. And Mr. Vickers and his wife welcomed their lovely brand new grandbaby. And he was showing off pictures when we were waiting for graduates to come in during robing. So very proud. 2 gentlemen who serve up here who also support their families. And I think that's also a testament going into the Father's Day month that I want to commend. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All I really want to say is, you know, this year's a unique year. I mean, the past few years with the extended school year, you know, way back when, you know, staff, students, and all, they had 3 months off for the summer, and way back when I was an advocate for a balanced calendar, and I got a lot of kickback from it, and I still look at the advantages, but I can tell you right now, I can look in people's eyes, I can look in children's eyes, I can look in teachers' eyes, I can look in the staff, I can look in the administrators' eyes, and everybody's tired just about right now. And I know that everyone is ready for some time off, and there's some that are going to come back for summer school and things of that nature. But I just want to extend my appreciation and thanks to all the kids, whether they made it to an academic letter or not, or there's a lot of kids out there that don't have someone to give them that encouragement, and there's a lot of parents that don't have that the same advantages as others, and the staff is you can see it, you can see it at the gala, you can see it, I can see it, I can see it in people's eyes that they're tired right now. So I just want to thank the staff and the kids, the parents, and everybody. You know, we need to focus on public education, because that's what we are. We educate the public, and we participate, just like us on the board. We come here, and I'm not looking for, you know, we do it. We invest a lot of our time and myself over the years, and I'm not looking for a pat in the back or anything like that, but, you know, we're here because we care. And me personally, that's what I demonstrate on a daily basis is it's all about our community, and it's all about what's best for people. So we'll move on.
Mr. President, may I make one more comment?
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that my words were not misconstrued or misquoted. I don't want this to become how much I know sitting behind this podium about what's going on, because believe me, I know a lot about what's going on. I've known a lot about what's going on for a very long time. I tend to do my thank yous personally to each person. I'll make phone calls, I'll send cards. I will do things that don't require public recognition for that. And I think in some regards, quite honestly, this has turned into how much I know over how much you know. And I don't think that that is a good use of our time. I think that our superintendent does a fine job of that. And I think that you didn't mention Ms. Moya. So you got forgotten. You mentioned two gentlemen here, Dr. Osowski, but you didn't mention Ms. Moya. And so she's forgotten. She's been left out. And I will tell you that people have told me, hey, how come they got recognized but we didn't get recognized? So just because they're not complaining to you doesn't mean they're not complaining to me. And with that, I'll end my comments.
All right, we'll move to item J. Presentation and approval of graduation requirements for HB 171. Superintendent Chavez.
Thank you, Board President Otero. Ms. Chavez is already at the podium, so I will ask her to start the presentation. Thank you, Ms. Chavez.
Mr. President, members of Los Lunas School Boards of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to speak about the graduation requirements. I am going to invite Ms. Chelsea Cervantes, the Director of Secondary Programs, to come up and speak.
Mr. President, members of the school board, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to present again regarding the graduation pathways for Los Lunas schools per House Bill 171. Tonight, I would like to just reiterate a little bit of my presentation from last month, as well as address a couple of the questions that came up. So first off, we are proposing a strategic framework for each high school within Los Lunas schools to have 3 pathway options for graduation requirements. The first pathway is a Capstone 1 to Capstone 2 pathway. The second pathway is Capstone 1 to a CTE completer course, which would be articulated in our CTE pathways as put forth by the New Mexico Public Education Department. And then our third pathway would be AP Seminar to AP Research. In response to a question from last presentation, you can see the arrows on this pathway that allow for some flexibility within these pathways. So if I am a student that begins in AP Seminar and then midstream decides this isn't the right pathway for me for whatever reason, I can go directly from AP Seminar to Capstone 2, or if I have also completed the concentrator course in a CTE pathway, I can also go directly to the CTE completer course and utilize one of those pathways as well. Next slide. How will these course options benefit our students? These courses, AP Seminar and Research, allow students who are focused on academic research pathways, students that are seeking advanced and college-level ready work. Our high school capstone pathway serves as a culminating applied experience where students get to focus in on career pathways, internships, and civic engagement. And our CTE completer courses ensure mastery of industry-aligned technical skills within the career pathway. All three of these pathways allow for differentiation based on next step plans as completed by students, as well as goals that may be set forth in a student's IEP. All three of these pathways allow for us to emulate shared goals as put forth by our profile of a graduate. So again, here's a way to envision our graduate profile that allows us to see the connections, the direct connections between our graduate profile and these three pathways. All three pathways allow our students in various capacities to show responsible citizenry, effective communicator, focus on wellness, innovative thinkers, and being self-driven. Also, in response to a question that was raised at the last presentation, are what pathways are we offering across Los Lunas schools? You can see that all three high schools have multiple pathways available to them, and many of these pathways are highly replicable and have low overhead, low cost to the district, meaning not every CTE pathway requires a specialty shop and tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of specialty equipment. Some do, but many do not. The four-year journey for our students will look like this. In 9th and 10th grade, they will focus on their core foundations, including ELA, math and science, health, and personal finance, which will count as one of their social studies credits. In 11th grade, students will embark on their graduation pathway, whether that be a Capstone 1 or an AP Seminar course. And as discussed in the previous slide, if a student starts on AP Seminar, completes that course, and then for whatever reasons decides that that is not the pathway that they would like to complete, they may go to one of the other pathways as offered. And finally, in their 12th grade year, they will choose their culminating course, whether that be Capstone 2, AP Research, or any one of the CTE completer courses as set forth by the New Mexico Public Education Department. So what are the goals of these required courses? We'd like to increase the application of academics to real-world settings, individualization and personalization of the educational experience for all students, increased collaboration opportunities between schools and employers, integration of the Los Lunas Schools graduate profile, and increased satisfaction of the educational process for students and parents. And right there you can see a picture of our graduate profile, which was created by our community members. In conclusion, multiple pathways, one graduate profile allows us to support the hopes, dreams, and desires of every student within Los Lunas schools in very tangible ways in which our community can be involved and we can strengthen relationships. I stand for questions.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, Dr. Osowski, go ahead and you start.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. So I've spent quite a bit of time on the websites mapping out the different pathways and what's available. And there's two things that I noted. For the pathways, which I'm pleased that we have quite as many pathways as we do, there is a completer course, but there's also 2 to 3 other courses that support getting into that completer course for the majority. So if we take away a credit for a required capstone, kids who really want this completer, or who want this certificate, are going to have to give up a class in that pathway. Now, if they're interested in a pathway, I'm unclear how that's helpful. And we talk about the goals of this is to increase, let me get back to that sheet, is to increase student individualization and personalization. And that individualization and personalization is actually the wording that was used by the 3 authors that wrote this bill, because I went back and found their interviews as well as the summary from the legislature. And it talked about student voice and autonomy. And I'm concerned that by taking away 2 electives, we're not allowing for increased personalization. Then I went and looked at how many students were in our academic robing ceremony. And I took the book home, put it in Excel, and listed, I got all the way through Los Lunas High and only got 2/3 the way through Valencia, but I promise I'll do it. Because one of the things I was looking for is how many of our students are participating in either activities or other things at the high school, other than just the required coursework, that helped get them across the line. Do you know how many students participated in more than one thing out of the graduating class from Los Lunas High? Greater than 76%. Those students did stuff that ranged everything from multiple clubs. They have multiple academic acknowledgements, either for 1-year letter, 2-year letter, 3-year letter, 4-year letter, in multiple things, everything from lending a paw to HOSA, to athletics, to other awards, NHS involvement. As a matter of fact, by the time I finished with Los Lunas High School, we had more than 10 students out of 317 that had more than 10 noted things that they did in 4 years. And if we take away 2 electives, I worry that these students will not have those opportunities. Because at some point in time, they're not going to get to have a 4-year band letter and a 4-year ROTC letter, and maybe participate in the CNA or the HOSA. Because I looked at what they wrote down. Then I looked at the number of scholarships that our students wrote down. And yes, it's self-reported, but it's coming across through the counseling office, so I have no reason to think that our students wouldn't be saying the truth to us. But we have so many students that have more than one scholarship. So our students are surviving in spite of us taking away 2 credits. And then the last thing that I really, really worried about here, well, there's 2 other things that I worried about. If a student has to go capstone 1 to capstone 2, they've got to be down with community partnerships. What are we doing with kids who don't have access to a vehicle and they're at home expected to help? What do we do with those kids? What do we do with our foster kids? What are we doing with our other kids who may not have a great placement and they can't get there? And they're not necessarily wanting to go capstone 1 or 2. They're more aimed towards maybe getting their credits up because of life situations. Or we have our very high achieving students and very goal-driven students who are looking at almost having, for lack of a better statement, they're wanting to complete the math pathway, the science pathway, and the English pathway. So their elective credits are in those higher end courses, not just the required ones for graduation. The moment we take away student choice, and it's based on 271 votes, which if you take that out of the 3 grade levels, that's about 90 students or 90 parents per grade level, which if you take 90 out of our combined graduating class of over 600 students, that's 15% of the population, 15% of a graduating class. So I have a problem. I don't have a problem with offering these as credits, as pathways to help guide kids, especially since the next step plan is so heavily mentioned in House Bill 171, heavily mentioned, heavily emphasized, that definitely for kids who need some good guidance and who are struggling to connect with their high school experience, and yes, there's 24 to 30% of those kids who are struggling to connect. Awesome, leave this as a required guidance document, help them get there. But to take away 2 electives, I struggle with that. I don't think that it's necessary. Our students have already shown us with their parents and their teachers and their sponsors, over 70% did a fabulous job without us taking away 2 of their electives. So that's my comments.
Mr. Vickers.
So help me to understand this a little bit. The capstone 1 and the AP seminar are all basically for juniors.
Yes.
And then the capstone 2, the CTE completer, and AP researcher are senior.
Generally speaking.
Okay. So the current CTE pathways offered, I'm concerned that the VHS students have a much more limited choice than the Los Lunas High School students. And then, of course, Century even less. Are we making efforts to broaden that so that VHS has more, the same kind of choices that Los Lunas High School does?
Yes, so we work consistently with all 3 high schools to expand CTE offerings. And you'll see the amount of CTE offerings happening at Los Lunas High School right now are in a direct response to that collaboration. And so those pathways, many of them are fairly new within the last 2 to 3 years. And we also have to take into account student body size, which directly impacts the FTEs that we have available at a site to offer electives. So those are the things that impact what choices we make. Also, Valencia High School has a high amount of specialty CTE pathways, which have those more, like I had mentioned in my presentation, that more high overhead, high cost specialty shops, specialty labs. And those are things that Valencia High School was specifically created for. So we maintain that legacy at at Valencia High School. I had a dry mouth at Valencia High School. So we maintain that legacy and continue to work collaboratively to ensure that we're expanding those options. And as teachers become more aware of what the CTE pathways are and what their interests are in being able to support our students in their future endeavors, we are able to add those pathways.
Okay, so how does that work with the CTE pathways? Is that the entire curriculum for seniors that choose that pathway? Is that every class is in these offerings?
So what typically happens is when we create a pathway, the state requires us to have an introductory level, a concentrator level, and a completer level. 3 courses equals a complete pathway. Okay. And so at the state level, we look intently at how many students are concentrators. That's a really good indicator for us that a pathway is strong. So if students are going from intro to concentrator and we still have a very strong student desire for that course, then we know that we can build to that completer course. We do utilize Perkins grant funding to help ensure that those completer courses are being built. And in that pathway as well, we look at things like community partnerships. We look at job need and projections over the next few years. We also expect if it's a Perkins funded pathway, that it is considered high wage, which right now is, I believe, right around 49,000 and change per year is what the state considers a high wage opportunity for students moving forward. If they don't reach that threshold, then we have a sister grant that is given to us by the state, which is Next Gen funding, and that allows us to help fund other pathways which are not, do not necessarily meet those Perkins qualifiers. And they also allow us to be innovative within our pathways. So those 2 funds together fund the majority of our CTE pathways, although there are pathways which are fully funded outside of that grant as well. You'll notice we have a military pathway, so ROTC is fully funded. That military pathway would be considered a CTE completer pathway in this proposal as well.
So if there's a VHS student that wants to participate in media production and broadcasting, is there a way that that can happen?
I love that question because it's something that I grapple with every day. As we talk as a district and as we move forward and we try to meet every student where they are, you know, there was a time in our district where we did provide transportation from one site to another to allow for that kind of flexibility. Is that possible in the future? I don't know. In my dreams, like in my perfect utopia, absolutely. I would also say that the opposite is true. I would like to see students who are at Los Lunas High School be able to go to Valencia High School and take a culinary arts class. So I think each high school has its own opportunities. And each community that our high schools serve is unique. So what we try to do is really dig into that community, the resources that are available, not only within the community and the teachers that are available, but what are our students really interested in? And that's the data that drives these decisions.
So theoretically, a student could request to go to Los Lunas High School because of this,
Absolutely.
and then it would have to be looked at based on space
Absolutely.
at the high school.
Yes.
But I do hate to see the imbalance between the two. That discussion happened years ago when we built Valencia High School.
Yes.
Like, oh no, you're dividing the community. Oh no, they're getting, they're gonna be the redheaded stepchild, you know, over there. And so I like to tell people it doesn't matter what school you go to. In our system, you're gonna get a quality education.
Absolutely.
But they're not going to get all the offerings that are possible. So that does concern me.
Sure. And that is why we do allow transfers within our district as well. Students transfer between our high schools for many reasons, and that very well could be one of them. I am so happy that we have made a concerted effort to bring that equality in our system, especially through our welding program. Valencia High School has shown for many years now building up our welding program and allowing for students to leave with their certificates of welding technology. And Los Lunas High School is well on its way to being on par with that Valencia High School program as well. So those are definitely things that we continue to talk about, we continue to brainstorm, and again, meeting our community where they have expressed to us that the need is.
And, yeah, so, I mean, this affects seniors, basically, is what we're talking about, seniors, by your roadmap here.
Sure.
It seems like we should make special efforts to accommodate seniors that want to
Absolutely.
move because of that, either way, so that they can do that.
Yes, and what's beautiful about that is that because of the Next Step plan and the individual planning that we do with our students each year through their, starting in their 8th grade year and then moving through high school, it's not something that we have to be reactive to in their senior year. It's something that as we come together as high school administrative teams, we can really, again, looking at that data and understanding where the need is, and then creatively problem solving. How do we get a student in, right? Because they have to take the intro, then the concentrator, then the completer. So it doesn't start their senior year, really starts at the beginning of their high school journey, their freshman or their sophomore year. So those are the things that we want to see happen. We also have Valencia High School, which has been experimenting with some creative scheduling, which has also allowed students to receive blocked CTE classes so that they're receiving high-quality instruction and enough lab or shop time. And it's also accelerating the time in which it takes them to get their CTE completer course done. So we have students completing entire pathways in 2 years.
Okay. All right, just my thoughts. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Seymour.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Valdez, for the clarification. And I just want to hear the words that these aren't necessarily set in stone, that this is all we would be able to offer, because I'm not seeing in here coding. I'm not seeing in here renewable energy.
Yep.
I'm not seeing what I'm hearing I need from the area, the economic regional council saying this is the technology that we are wanting out of these students.
Absolutely.
So kind of curious on the military and national security right now. Everything is IT and drones right now. So,
Yes.
you know, I'll sign up for the drone course. Couple of things. I concur with Mr. Vickers. I remember when they did the culinary arts, and I believe when Valencia first opened, I believe we actually had, if I'm correct, a hair salon. They did hair.
Yes.
They, you know, and
Yes.
it was a trade, and I was like, oh, this is great. We're as calculus. But then one of the things I'm seeing here too in Century's got biotech research. I know what we pay biotech research people
Yeah.
in my
Yes.
system.
Mhm.
So I was really impressed to see some of that.
Yes.
So these are not necessarily set in stone CTE
No.
pathways at each location. This is just based on our current offerings, what they have. So there's already an inequity, correct?
Absolutely. And we also have many, many pathways available through the state. And so again, that's part of that collaborative process. All of the high school principals, administrative staff have ready access to, and we discuss regularly. They're probably tired of me talking to them about it at this point, but we're revisiting that document all of the time. And really talking about what does it look like. And also that document updated within the last year, really, and is when it became effective for us. And so that has shifted some of our pathways. It's expanded some pathways, it shut down some pathways, in order to make this whole system a little bit more streamlined. And so we're adjusting to those things. And then talking about, okay, so if a pathway had to go away, then what is the new thing that we need to bring in? I would agree with you that the things that we would like to see come in definitely are more things that are rooted in the computer science, in technology, in renewable energies. Those are very important to our area specifically. And so what we're finding is that those are things that we really, and we are expressing to the state regularly, is that these are things that we need our teachers to get trained in. One of the things that we struggle with sometimes, especially with highly technical CTE pathways, one, like you mentioned, a biotechnologist is, I can't compete with that salary-wise, right? That has to be a hard work. What we can do, though, is we can help our teachers who hold the appropriate licenses to get professional development to then be able to offer those courses. And so we continue to have those conversations with our teachers. We continue to look for professional development opportunities so that we can build those pathways for our students.
I was gonna ask you regarding, because this seems to be, you know, other countries have done it for years, and it's tracking students, and they start in other countries from 7th grade forward. What kind of support are you going to need from a counselor end? Because we just had a conversation about AI, and I don't want to put a student's grades into an AI computer and spit it out and say, this one's going to be a baker. That's
Right.
what I would have got.
Same, I would have loved to be a baker.
Yeah. Or you do equipment operator, it's either one.
Yes.
You should see me with a front end loader, by the way. All right, but by the way, I just am curious of what kind of financial budgeting support are we going to need for individual counselors so that these students that get on these capstones are followed and along the way, so that we don't make a mistake by their junior year when it's too late, turn back now.
Sure.
So, any input on that or suggestions?
I think statewide, there's a great conversation happening around school counseling and what does a caseload look like? How many students can a counselor really help, right? We are actively pursuing funding and grants that allow us to bring in extra help for that. When we first started this program,
We did have college, career, military, and trade specialists that were covered under a grant that helped to organize this work specifically and really got it off of the ground and created some great structures. That has been helpful in and of itself, that the structures exist. Over and above that, through Perkins funding, now that the other grant that has carried our CCTMs has come to an end, through our Perkins funding, we also support a CTE teacher district-wide that helps create these community involvement pieces and can also help with that counselor conversation piece. And then also, I think really it's about recognizing that our students do have voice and choice in this. They do get to say what happens within their next step plans. And our counselors have always been highly, I don't want to say, the word that's coming to my mind is reactive, but it's responsive. That's the word I'm looking for. Have always been highly responsive to our students and their needs. And so all of our high schools can tell you that we spend a considerable amount of time in the summer. So after course requests go in, then our principals are spending a lot of time ensuring that the master schedule is solid. We take a lot of constraints into account, and then we schedule those students. Then students come get their schedules in July. Counselors spend hours on that day, talking one-on-one with students and families, making sure that the schedule reflects what the student is really trying to do. Then over and above that, we still have schedule changes happening during that first 2-week period of school. So lots of opportunities for students to get the one-on-one support that they need through our counseling departments. And not to mention just teachers who will come to our administration and say, hey, this kiddo really thrived in whatever class it was. I'd really like to see them back. So then we can open up those conversations too. So it's really about relationship. And it's really about ensuring that we are listening to our students and giving them the opportunities for the conversations.
Thank you, Brett.
Ms. Sanders.
So, just to back up a little bit, you gotta back up further than Valencia High. You gotta back up to the Career Academy.
Yes, exactly.
The Career Academy was originally created for CTE pathway students.
Yes.
They were all part of Los Lunas High School. So they did go back and forth. That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
However, in the situation that we're in at this point, and that is why they had the cosmetology and the culinary arts and the welding and the sheet metal and all of the things that they had there, because that was the Career Academy. That's what that was built for. When they decided, the board decided to split the high school into 2 high schools, the facilities were there, so they didn't want to stop using those, obviously. And given that, I'm just sitting here thinking, you know, we are asking our kids to be creative, and we need to be creative.
Agreed.
How can we provide a teacher at Los Lunas High School for kids at Valencia High School and vice versa, and then create some transportation pieces that take them where they need to go for the application of, like, welding. You can't do welding online, right?
Absolutely.
Not to practice anyway. You know, there are some CTE pathways that don't require the lab, such as cybersecurity or some of those. You know, so I have all the confidence in the world in the staff that you could come up with something that would be creative. You know, make some AI experts. Yes, they are. And we just need to capture their talent, right? And direct it in the right way. But there's no reason that somebody can't teach something at Valencia High School. Kids from Los Lunas can benefit and vice versa. And then, you know, wherever the facilities are there. Then, in the future, for Los Lunas schools, when the 5 people that are here, or 6 people that are sitting up here are no longer up here. Because the people that made the decisions back then are no longer sitting here. What are we going to do for our kids that give them that edge? And I think showing them the creativity pieces of what we can do for them now and not restrict them to just this school or just that school. And I encourage you to think that way.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. In fact, that is the spirit in which this plan was born. I'd also like to say that Ms. Sanders, I think you just came up with one of our first capstones in the community.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, I just, I think that you guys have done some phenomenal work, and I think that we have to think differently if we're going to educate our kids who are going to enter into, or are already entering into a world that we don't know anything about.
Absolutely.
So thank you for your work.
Okay, you know, I've been around a while. You know, I've seen what happens, you know, the Career Academy was originally designed, you know, like you say, for the culinary and the food and the beauty, what have you. But after a certain period of time, I participated, and I was, I can't even remember her name. I was appointed on the committee, and we all met at, which is now the Valencia High School, and this committee was struggling big time with the growth in the community and the traffic and the way to get kids to, you know, Los Lunas High School was just getting too big and getting dangerous in a lot of ways, because, I mean, the numbers of kids, and so we just, you know, we all participated, and we came up with recommendations to, and I wasn't a board member, it was way before I even thought about being a board member, but we really needed to make that divide, and so, and when I talk a lot of times about Los Lunas schools, I use the word Valencia County, because Los Lunas schools is Valencia County. It's not just Los Lunas.
Absolutely.
Even though Los Lunas is one of our bigger schools, and some people have that tie with being you know, whether a tiger or a jaguar, what have you. But I still believe that we still need to provide equality in this community, and things have evolved, and like Ms. Sanders was saying, you know, the trades and the ag and the welding, and I guess there's still automotive shop up there, and things are going a different path here at Los Lunas, and I've noticed that you know, way back when I went to school there, way in carpentry, they had welding and auto mechanics, but they don't have that anymore. But now it looks like they're getting welding back, and so and maybe Ms. Chavez can elaborate on that here in coming up in a while. But I still feel like we really need to make. And it's all about adapting to the times. And way back in the time, it was a farming community. Valencia County is a farming community. There wasn't, you know, this high-tech businesses weren't coming here. It was, and so things have kind of evolved in this community. And right now, like we're talking with AI and the technology, it's all changing, and it's all happening so fast, it's not even funny anymore. I mean, a kid could start as a freshman, and by the time he's a senior, the path has just totally changed. So you know, my belief is we need to address the times, and we need to stop thinking that everything is just going this way, we need to think both ways. I mean, we have, you know, it's one community, and so, I support what this program offers. You know, is it gonna be a challenge? Yes, it's gonna be a challenge, but, you know, I think Valencia can pair up with it pretty rapidly. Now Century, I mean, that might offer some other challenges, and that's coming up later on the agenda, but we need to make an effort for kids, and here again, we've invested a lot of money in Valencia High School over the years. We built the auditorium. At one time, drama was a big thing in Los Lunas, and I don't even know if drama's an issue here anymore, but so we built that big auditorium that we were at the other day and spent a lot of money on that auditorium, and then Valencia got real big in band, and they win a lot of awards, and so the auditorium was designed more for band, but you know, we're looking at let me see here, the media production and broadcasting, and we don't see that at Valencia, and I can remember Mrs. Otero's mother would tell us all the time, you know, well, where's the media and where's all that stuff in Valencia, you know, and why it hasn't got there yet. I mean, we you know, there's some career pathways that need to start going to Valencia, and so we need to make that effort, and we can't just pile it all on one bracket here in Los Lunas High School, because you know it can't accommodate the kids that live in this community, and we've gone down a number of students over the years here in this district, and you know, we can only anticipate that we want to grow that student population. So I think we need to advocate for, here again, we spend awful lot of money in Valencia. We're not gonna, as long as I'm here, we're not gonna vacate it and leave it in the desert out there. It's, I've seen so much good happen there, and I've seen some such smart kids up at that school, and I think there's a lot to offer at Valencia High School. So I'm going to support this program. I don't know about anybody else, but I think that we I hear all the time about people hearing from their constituents, and I'm kind of the kind of person where I say, well, I don't hear too much, but I can tell you right now, I've gotten a lot of calls about the scheduling of our high schools. We're 2 days away from the end of our school year, and we have kids that are freshmen and wondering what courses are going to be offered in just 2 months from now. And if we don't address it today, you know, we're setting up some of these kids for some real challenges, and they're looking at us like we can't make a decision here in this district. And so, right now, I'm going to support this endeavor, and I don't know about anybody else, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and put it up for vote, and if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But all I can tell you, if it doesn't, the only people that we're failing are our students. So.
Mr. President,
Yes.
with that comment, I would move to approve the graduation requirements presented for House Bill 171.
I'll second.
We have a motion, Sonia C. Moya, to approve item J on the agenda, presentation and approval of graduation requirements per HB 171. We have a second by Ms. Sanders. Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Simoia, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. The item passes by a vote to 4-1. We'll move to item K on the presentation. That's a presentation and approval of Los Lunas Family School reorganizing application. Superintendent Chavez.
Thank you, Board President Otero. I would like to thank Ms. Cervantes and the team for the work on the graduation pathway. And yes, we do have more work to do on our current CTE pathways that we offer at all 3 high schools, and that will be our focus as we move forward. I would like to invite Ms. Susie Chavez to the podium so we can have our presentation for the family school reorganization application.
Mr. President, I hate to interrupt, but can we take like a 5-minute break and then?
Sure,
Because I
okay.
have a feeling this is going to be a long conversation too.
All right, sorry to interrupt you. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Mr. President, members of the Los Lunas Schools Board of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to speak about Los Lunas Family School, otherwise known as the Los Lunas Family School Digital Learning Academy. And this is a presentation regarding the grade reconfiguration proposal. I am going to turn it over to Principal Claire Toledo.
Mr. President, members of the Los Lunas School Boards of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about the Los Lunas School reorganization. So I'm going to go through a little bit of history of what brings us to here today. So on December 14th, 2021, Los Lunas Family School was approved by the governing committee to become a K-12 digital learning academy in response to the end to online instruction and large family demand wanting to stay online in that first year that we returned to in-person learning. The proposal we bring to you today is to reorganize as a 7/8 grade middle school to support NOVA reporting. This was a request by the PED that we file this paperwork and reorganize into a 7/8 school. So we are asking to close grades K-6 and 9-12. And later in the presentation, you'll see how that aligns with programmatic student needs, the effect that it has on academic outcomes, and the efficient use of district resources.
Ms. Toledo, let me back up just a little bit to give some prior history of Los Lunas Family School and how it has changed over the years. So the family school model was adopted, and you'll have to help me, Ms. Sanders, I do not remember what year it was, but it's been in place for many years.
I would say 2010.
About right. Yeah, about 2010. So it started off as an elementary program, and we had a smaller population, less than about 50 students that initially started, and it was a 2.5-day program. So our students would attend school Monday, Tuesday, half-day Wednesday, and then the remainder of the week, they would finish the rest of their schooling at home, and the parents would sign a contract to provide the rest of the supports at home. Throughout the years, it has been at different locations. It has been at the Daniel Fernandez campus, it has been at Catherine Gallegos Elementary School, and it has been at Valencia Elementary School. The most recent move back to Daniel Fernandez campus did happen shortly after COVID, after we returned from the pandemic. So we've had Los Lunas Family School in existence for at least 16 years, if not longer, and it's had its variations throughout the years. So I just wanted to give further context from a historical perspective of what the model has looked at. When we had the original family school, I believe that it started in first grade. We did not have kindergarten. And then it ended around 6th grade. We've moved up throughout the reconfiguration of our grade structure in our district. So it has changed as a result of the evolution of the grade structure in Los Lunas schools. So right after, it takes you to December of 2021, we did bring this proposal. At the time, it was the governing committee. And that's what the current application is in place for. Thank you, Ms. Toledo.
Thank you. Next slide. So if we go back to 2021, there was a rapid expansion of hybrid and online learning due to family demands that were requesting that their children stay online. They wanted to continue educating their children like they did during pandemic. And so the enrollment patterns rapidly shifted. The numbers went very high very quickly. We were adding staff as fast as we could. At one point, they were operating out of the TRC. And so that program kind of shifted to the Daniel Fernandez campus around that time and reorganized to be K-12. As the years went on, the enrollment in K-5 and eventually K-6 really dwindled down to very small numbers as the family demand changed, as families desired for their students to go back to full-time traditional elementary school. Next slide. The K-12 academic, we did try and operate K-12 for several years after the pandemic. The students' academic outcomes were significantly below district average, which resulted in the family school being designated as a CSI for low performance across all subgroups and all areas. After closing the grades K-5, the school exited CSI in the first year. The middle school was not showing the same academic gaps as their in-person peers. The middle school students were performing on par with middle schools across the state. It was the K-5 students who had the very low performance that was putting us in designation. Also, the numbers of K-5 students were extremely low, and we'll see that later in the presentation. So the K-5 students were returned to their stronger performing zoned schools when we made the decision as a district that it was unsupportable for the FTEs required and the academic performance and the number of students. 7-8 continues to show a demand of approximately 20 students a year enrolling in each grade, which is enough to support FTE for the school. And so we continue to have students enrolling regularly for 7th and 8th grade and wanting an online option or a hybrid option for middle school. Next slide. The enrollment decline in K-5 at the time that those grades were closed, many grades went to 0, some went to 1 to 3 students. So we would have had struggled to even support one FTE that was teaching K-6 if we had kept those grades open. Those elementary students were transitioned and given warning and did move back. The 9-12 program that Las Lunas Family School was running post-pandemic was a hybrid online program. Century had a online hybrid program for the district many years before I started being at Century that was similar to the program Las Lunas Family School. So we were operating 2 similar programs on the same campus at 2 different school locations. So there was a duplication of effort at the high school level with those high school students. Next slide. When the district decided to close the K-5 grades, there was a large cohort of 5th graders. There was like 7 to 10 kids. I mean, that's not large, but that's a bigger group than the rest, that wished to remain online and were just 1 year from getting to the 7th and 8th grade middle school portion of our program. And so we did keep the 6th grade open 1 additional year to support those families that intended to transition and stay all the way up through the grades in a hybrid model. So a small cohort of 6th graders did remain for 1 year, and then they transitioned to 7th grade, and now they've aged up into, I believe, 8th grade. Next slide. This kind of talks about the enrollment trends. So the blue is K-5. So that was the very first year that 4 years ago when we had the rapid enrollment in K-5 learning. We had enough to support a teacher at every grade level at that time. 6-8 is in the red. That was enough to support a middle school staff and teach the core content areas in terms of FTE. The following year, so that would be the year 3, the students who were still online after the pandemic had stayed at Valencia and Las Lunas High School for 1 year. That became unviable to operate those programs at 3 different campuses, so they were consolidated into 1 through Las Lunas Family School for a single year. And so that green enrollment was reported on Las Lunas Family School 1 year. Those are our hybrid students. The following year, those students in that green bar were transitioned over to the Century High School hybrid program and combined with the parallel program that Century High School was operating and continues to operate at this time. So those green students didn't go away. They show back up on the Century High School. You can see the red, which is the middle school, has remained pretty consistent at that 40, 45, 50 level for the last 3 years, enough to support staffing for them and demand. The year that we closed the K-5, we were looking at under 15 students returning the following year based on family demand. That green bar is part of the reason that the PED is asking us to reorg, and I'll talk more about that in the next couple slides. So again, I kind of have shared that the enrollment has been very stable in the 7-8 program. They have comparable academic performance, and there's ongoing family requests for a hybrid or a middle school option in the district based on our enrollment and the enrollment patterns. Next slide. The 9-12 program, like I said, had transitioned 1 year from Las Lunas and Valencia and Century onto just family school for 1 graduating year, 1 year of 9-12 enrollment. And then the following year, those students were merged into Century High School. So they really, once they had already moved over to family school, they saw very little changes in their services with the transition from Las Lunas Family School to Century, because they're operated on the same campus under the same administration, the same front office. Next slide. The 7-8 model has really been popular. The academic performance, like I said, is near the other grade levels. We'll go with the next slide. So the impact on the district. This reorganization plan is an efficient use of resources. It eliminated very low enrollment staffing inefficiencies in the K-5 program. It reduced the duplication of services in the 9-12 operating of the 2 programs. It has a clearer program structure of what each entity does, and it improves budget by using staffing FTE resources efficiently. Next slide. Some might ask what happened to the staff. The K-5 teachers were reassigned into positions of their choices through the district RIF and staffing policies. Mr. Seiss and his department worked closely with those staff members to allow them their choice of several options of vacant positions within the district, and most, if not all of them, transitioned into an open position at their choice. The 6th grade teacher stayed on 1 more year and then was reassigned through the same process. The 9-12 teachers that were supporting that green bar for 1 year, those positions were moved over to Century with the students, so those students saw no disruption in their teacher, their academic, their program. All they saw was a name change in what school they attended. And we did follow all the RIF and staffing policies in the negotiated agreement. Next slide. So altogether, this has been better academically for all the programs involved. It's created age-appropriate learning environments and improved outcomes. Las Lunas Family School was able to come off of CSI designation by making these restructuring changes. Next slide. The application does address the impact on facilities. There was no impact on facilities except for that it freed up classrooms at CHS that have been repurposed into where the hybrid high school program operates, and a collaboration space, an office space, and a beautiful weight room was able to be kind of repurposed out of the space that these elementary classrooms were in. But there was no additional capital cost to closing the school, or reorganizing the school. It's not a closure, sorry. Next slide. Programmatic impact, like I said, the 7-8 remains very similar and is still on family school. We were able to discontinue a very expensive curriculum purchase for K-5. We were using an online curriculum that was designed for online instruction. It was not an HQIM, and it was very, very expensive, but it was the best curriculum out there at the time for online K-5 instruction. So the district did discontinue purchasing that when the ESSER funds were dwindling as part of this. The 7-8 curriculum remains at no additional cost to the district. It is included in the purchase of the HQIM that CHS already purchases. So there's no, it's not like an additional cost per kid or additional materials purchased. It's just part of the 9-12 purchase that is made anyway, naturally. And then the hybrid model has been sustained at the middle school. The district and the teachers and myself as the administrator really felt that seeing the kids at least once a week was important. When we see them, we can serve them. And when we see them, we can support them, and we know what's going on with them. So we have moved our 7-8 model to be hybrid. The impact on technology, the K-8 iPads were reused. They transitioned back with students to their neighborhood zone school, and the 7-8 ones remain at the Daniel Fernandez campus used by Los Lunas Family School. The MacBooks are in a one-to-one program, so those transitioned with the students from Los Lunas Family School to Century High School at no additional cost to the district or no additional IT burden, other than reallocating what campus the device is at. Next slide. This next slide talks about the FTE and the teachers. The blue FTE, those teachers were reassigned as part of the RIF, like I discussed. The red, green, and purple bars are 16 FTE combined. The red is the Los Lunas Family School middle school teachers that pre-reorganization were employed. The green bar is the online Los Lunas Family School teachers that were employed, and the purple bar was the Century High School staff at the time. The red, green, and purple bar is 16 FTE, and after the reorganization, 1 FTE remains at Los Lunas Family School, and 14 FTE remain at Century High School. The additional difference between 14 and 15 personnel and the district, we made a decision in December when a teacher resigned at Century that the numbers didn't support refilling that. So that is one of the FTEs that was reduced in the current budget when we discussed it about teachers leaving through attrition. Next slide. This just kind of gives you the public-facing information about how the program operates at Los Lunas Family School. The students are required to come to campus 1 day a week. We try and keep them on the same day of the week as they age up. There is online instruction with a certified teacher 2 days a week through Zoom. The students work independently the remainder of the week, and they can do that independent work either at home or in our hybrid labs in addition to the 1 day that they come in person. They are expected to do 7 hours a day on the computer. The teachers do check it and base attendance based on student time logged in the program or seat time. Next slide. So we are asking that you approve the reorganization for the 7th, 8th grade model and support the closure of the K-6 and 9-12 grades at Los Lunas Family School. Next slide, yeah. I do want to share one thing. This was a request from the PED. There are some consequences to that 9-12 being on Los Lunas Family School 1 year. And the PED did notify us that Los Lunas Family School would go into CSI designation without this reorganization for graduation rate, which, having been in CSI designation for graduation rate, the only way to get off graduation rate is to improve graduation rate. But if you don't have students enrolled in 9-12, you cannot improve graduation rate if you don't have high schoolers. And so we would have to enroll high schoolers and start a whole new program in order to be taken off that designation if we do not move forward with this reorganization, was what we were notified by the PED that prompted this. Any questions?
Oh, lots. So I do have a quick question. So currently, the middle school students are required to attend. The 7th graders are on Monday and 8th graders are on Friday, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And then they have the option of attending Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So a 7th grader could come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but their required day is Monday.
Okay, and there are bus opportunities for them to get there, or is this parents responsible?
No, ma'am, there's no buses to any program at Daniel Fernandez campus currently.
Okay. How is attendance on Mondays and Friday?
It's pretty good. I mean, the families sign up and they meet with us and they go over what the program's going to look like and what their family commitments are.
So currently, we have no high schoolers in this program, correct?
Correct. Currently, we're reporting to the PED only enrollment in 7th and 8th grade are the currently enrolled grades.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
So I see this as an opportunity to bring students back to Los Lunas School, so I have some questions. Number one, has there been a consideration for a name change?
There
can be.
There can be, and there was lots of names used during the years that we just discussed in this presentation. There was probably 4 different versions of names used. That is an option that could be included with this application.
Okay, because that's going to require PED approval, right?
Correct, and that could be, it's on this same form.
So what 4 versions have we used?
Los Lunas Family School, Los Lunas Family School Digital Academy,
Digital
Learning Academy.
DLS.
So we've used like DLA, LLFS, DLA, LLFS.
But we did all of that without PED approval, right? I mean, that was just kind of.
That was kind of like colloquial, what people called it, what people put on forms and things.
Okay, yeah.
The legal name has remained Los Lunas Family School throughout this entire process,
Okay.
according to PED.
Okay, so given that, I think, number one, the name change might be critical. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it could be critical. Because believe it or not, I've done my own little research. And what I can say is that kids that have left Los Lunas and are online have a huge connection to either the Jags and Valencia or the Tigers and Los Lunas. And they want to have a diploma that says that. Number one. I could foresee, what is currently enrollment with 7th and 8th grade?
45.
Okay. And I could foresee surveying kids that have left us and asking them what it would take for them to come back. We have 700 kids that left us. How many are still in the state? And what would it take to bring them back? Is this something that would bring them back? Partly, right? Some. I'm just guessing, but some. The other question is, have we looked at, is this a result of our program or model? Or are people moving out of the family school because they're going back to it completely in person? So is our program the problem? Because let me just add to that. When I see 7 or 8 hours of time on a computer, number one, that's not happening, which could be contributing to the attendance problem. Okay, so I think if we look at what other models that are successful do and have successful scores for students on state tests that, whatever, if that's what we're gonna use, or a NAEP, whatever the case is, because you've got a testing grade in there with NAEP. Are our expectations for 7 or 8 hours on the computer realistic, reasonable, necessary? Students that are attending full-time are not sitting in a seat listening to a teacher for 7 to 8 hours a day. That's not happening. So I'm not sure why, I understand meeting the number of hours that the PED is required, but I'm really concerned about that piece. If we've already only enrolled 7th to 8th grade, why do you need the board's approval?
Can I answer that one? Because the PED is asking us to file this application. So they're saying, I mean.
Can I
yeah,
just ask, and maybe
Yeah.
help put that together? Is it that the PED is saying you need to go 7th and 8th grade? I understand the graduation rates and that kind of thing, that makes sense. But is that because that's really all you're serving and you never really have redone that application at the state? Because it said K-12, which happened in 2021, and now we need to go back to what we're really doing? Is that what?
That's correct. That's what's bringing this up today.
Okay, got you. Now I understand that question. I think that the other piece is, we've got 45 kids that are coming to the program right now. What happens to them after 7th and 8th grade?
Most of them matriculate up into the Century High School hybrid program.
Okay, but would you have more than 45 if that's not where they went? Which goes to?
A chunk of them matriculate, a small handful matriculate to Los Lunas or Valencia High School after 8th grade. So we do offer them all 3 choices during the registration period.
So what is the greatest number of 7th and 8th graders that you've ever had there?
During the pandemic, if we can go back to that slide, it was over.
Outside the pandemic?
Outside, that first year, we had like close to 80. Since then, we've been hovering in the 40 to 55 range.
And that first year, that was coming out of the pandemic.
That was the first year of return to in-person.
Return in person,
That
correct.
year 4 on that graph.
Yeah, 66.
And then we had like in the 50s, 2 years after in-person learning, and then it's hovered in the 40s, 45 since then. So we've been able to capture like 20-ish students per grade level that were wishing to leave in-person middle school for an online option.
Okay. And this doesn't really have anything to do with what you need the board to do to match what we're doing here, but the question is it our model / program that, and the way that we're offering it and the requirements that we have, as opposed to, I mean, in other words, is this a prime opportunity to bring kids back to Los Lunas? And if so, let's start doing the homework to make that happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I can tell you, we tried lots of different, we went through many improvement cycles in the last 5 years to figure out what did and did not work. And that included, like, originally there was no seat time requirement. Originally, so different requirements have kind of come and gone over the years in kind of an improvement cycle. Let's try this, see if it works. Let's try this and see if it works. I think the limiting factors are families don't necessarily want the hybrid option, but hybrid is what makes students successful. So there's this balance of fully online, the success rate is much lower than the hybrid model, you have a higher success rate, and so there's a balance between those two. And then I also think there's a balance between setting expectations for students and families. And so it has been an evolution over years to see what would and would not work, but we're always open to ideas.
So in that regard, if we've kind of changed things for the 45 to 80 kids that have come, we're changing it for the 45 to 80 kids that will come, what are we doing to engage a lot of other kids that haven't been in the program, that are from Massachusetts, for all we care? If that is going to, and successful programs like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't looked at statistics, but there's lots of online schools that do not have kids coming in and are still successful. So I guess the question is, what have we done past our 45 or 80 kids? And I'm just throwing that out there, just because this was an opportunity to have a big old conversation about the creativity piece.
Yeah.
But I
No, you're
understand what
okay.
you need the board to do.
Thank you.
Dr. Sosky.
I worry about the attendance rate, and I noticed there was no information in this presentation about attendance.
So attendance, again, back to Mr. Sanders' question was, or Mrs. Sanders' question was that attendance is largely based on seat time in this model. So attendance is marked present if they attend their Monday or their Friday class for their required day. It's marked present if they attend Zoom. And the other 2 days of the week come from putting in a sufficient number of hours at home studying on the computer. And so we find that a lot of the attendance problem or low attendance rate is coming from not putting in the time on the platform. So when you don't put in the time on the platform, your outcome is low. And so we wanted to account for that in attendance metrics. So it's kind of a double ding. If they don't put in the time on the platform, they're absent and they have low academic outcomes. And so most of the truancy in this program is a reflection of families not putting in the number of hours per day that it requires to be successful in the platform.
Ms. Toledo, I just pulled up, I'm
Kids
sorry.
transferring from family school into Century High School, are we noticing a pattern of high absenteeism, chronic absenteeism?
Can I defer to Ms. Lalonde, who deals with attendance?
You can answer the question.
Yeah, I know.
Just come on.
Come on down. So I was the teacher of 4th through 6th grade when the Digital Learning Academy started. And the attendance has always been an issue. And so we started the hybrid because we needed to see those students' faces. A lot of times students would sign up for online, have attendance issues where they came from, and then ghost us. And we were very concerned about student safety, all those things. So I think it's important that we are putting eyes on those kiddos at some point. The attendance between the online and Century, so we've had students, as Claire likes to say, matriculating from the family school into Century. And the freshmen that are coming in are actually, their attendance is it's pretty good. They're there all the time. We know this because they're freshmen and they make a lot of noise. So our freshman and sophomore classes are the first 2 classes to kind of come up from that middle school model, and I'd say their attendance is better than our juniors and seniors.
And how about behavior and discipline?
Behavior and discipline at Century, I'm gonna stand up for our kiddos. It's not what it used to be. They are good kids. They just need a smaller setting. They need more individualized attention, and that's what our staff can provide for them. So we don't have a ton of discipline problems because it is a smaller setting. We know our students by name. We have open door policies as administration. They can come talk to us. We have our social worker on campus, and they all know that they can come to us at any point.
So I noticed on the application, I think I'm looking on page 5 of 7, it says, in accordance with the Indian Education Act, sections 2223-1 through 2223A-8, one of the questions, is the school to be affected serve a Native American community or substantial population of Native American? We've marked yes. Then the next question, or the 4th question is, if yes to any of the questions above, have the board governing body involved the tribal governing body or tribal education department in the final decision regarding this application? And we marked no. But we have a Native American liaison. How come we have not included the tribal?
So let me clarify. We work with the Native American liaison on a regular basis. The Native American liaisons come and visit both our middle school hybriders on the day that they're there, and also our high school hybriders on the day that they're there, as well as our Century students. So we have involved our liaisons. The Department of Ed regularly visits the Daniel Fernandez campus. They hold office hours, they hold tutoring hours. They're very strong partners with us, so they're well aware. They have participated in even creating some of these requirements for seat time. You know, they have asked us to go out to the Department of Ed functions and present about how our curriculum works and what the option is. So we've involved them informally through their Department of Ed and their tribal liaisons. What we have not done is gone directly to the Pueblo of Isleta governing body and asked for permission for this change.
So Ms. Toledo, the question is an or question, so it's the tribal governing body or tribal education department. And I know that we have had that involvement at Century High School at the Daniel Fernandez campus. And I know attending a few of the parent meetings, and I know Ms. House has attended more of those parent meetings that happen on a routine basis. This also has been discussed at the parent meetings.
Be corrected on our
I believe it can. Because it is,
kind of is a glaring problem.
it is, and it's an or statement. So when you look at the or, it doesn't say we have to go to have both.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
That presented a follow-up question to Dr. Ozowski's. What percentage of our students that are participating in this program are Native American? Do we have that statistic?
So the statistics come out too small to report.
Sorry, thank you.
Mr. Rickers.
Sorry, Mr. Bishop.
I just wanted to ask or mention or suggest that with this program regarding attendance and transportation, and also with Ms. Cervantes' program and that transportation, have we coordinated with Rio Metro? Because they have buses that go everywhere. And they can, you know, if you schedule it, say, I need to be picked up every morning at 7 or whatever, they'll do it.
So thank you,
And it seems
Mr.
like a good collaboration with them would help solve our transportation problem.
Oh, okay. So, Mr. Vickers, members of the board, we have tried multiple times to engage in an MOU with the Rio Metro. We do that for another program in our school district, Launch to Success. What we have encountered is that they are not 18 years old. And so we've been working very closely with them as much as we can to say, please, this is a different model, but they're not 18 years old. So the students that attend Launch to Success are 18 years or older. However, we are working with our transportation department. We've made great strides. Last year, we did survey we surveyed all the students, and the students did not, at the time, indicate that they did want transportation. That has since changed. So we are starting the conversations with transportation. We still have more work to do because there's going to be some shifts in how we are working through those routes in order to provide transportation to students at Daniel Fernandez campus at Century High School.
So, like a younger teenager cannot ride Rio Metro?
I don't think so.
I know they ride the Albuquerque city buses.
They
They go
do.
to school
Yeah,
via city
that's,
bus up there.
That's a Rio Metro decision.
So they will drop them at places that are not schools.
Right.
So they will drop them at Albertsons, they will drop them at a job site, they will take them to the movies, they will not transport them to a school campus if they're not 18.
Okay,
It doesn't make, but yeah.
But it's not our,
okay. Thank you.
Senators.
Just to answer that question, even the program that they will transport because they're older has had multiple issues, multiple years with the supervision and even the behavior between a couple of students if they're on the same bus. So it's definitely a supervision issue. And if we're gonna be responsible for them, we probably would need to be responsible for them all the way.
And we've had inconsistent drop-off and pickup times. So they give us a range when they drop off our young adult students at Launch to Success. So they may show up anywhere between 7:15 to 8:15. So we need to have staff available during that time so that they are on campus when our students arrive. And then we also do receive a window of pickup. It's narrower. That's a lot easier to be scheduled and planning for the students who go out into the community and look for positions with their job coaches for employment, but it's not consistent.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, it just seems like to me, and you know, I have some smart people with me here, and especially the two smart educators that know a lot, but it just seems like to me, that, you know, when it started, the K through 5, K6, and, I mean, what kid that age could participate online without an adult participating with them? And so we have that first issue, and then what's your name?
Me?
Yeah,
Missy Dill-Lalone,
oh, okay.
or Jennifer.
You had said that you'd like to see them there just to visit with them because you might have wellness concerns, and here again, it goes back to the parents. And so I think this is, just seems like to me, you know, that this is a parent, it's really a parent issue, and so, and you were talking like when they get to 9th or 10th grade, freshman or sophomore, that they participate a lot. Well, when they get to that age, they're a lot more independent, and they really want to get out of their situation. You know, I could see 7 or 8, because let's face it, every kid that's going to middle school, they used to call it junior high, but it's a tough time to go to school. And so I guess I could see your point. I could see Pet's point about it's not going to work, and I'll go with whatever everybody else wants to recommend on this. But I really think that it would be hard to attract. And I'm not trying to put down your idea, but I really feel it's going to be hard to attract a good number of students to this type of a program due to the fact that they're coming from questionable parents or guardians or whoever they're living with. So, if anybody's got any more comments or?
Oh, just a real quick comment. I see this as an opportunity for a educational path for a non-traditional student. And I do think, I agree with your statement, middle school is hard. Middle school is hard for the teachers, middle school is hard for the parents, middle school is very hard for the student. When we first started this conversation, Ms. Sanders did bring up the comment about the family school. And the family school, to me, it already has brought a connotation of perhaps it's faith-based, perhaps it's a different type of structure. And when you say the word digital academy, you've got my ear perked if I'm just a non-joiner automatically. So I think we can play with names on it, and to Ms. Sanders' behalf, I think that does attract students, and at that point, the parent will do anything to get the student engaged. You only have to go 1 day a week, and you can go more if you want, but you're gonna do your course, you're gonna do this one way or another. So I feel that this does have an opportunity to attract more, and we lose them in that age. And so rather than lose them, I want to engage them. So I do feel, yeah, that was my last comment.
It really is just about rebranding. And then leaving it that way.
Yes, please.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and take a vote and stand for a motion.
Can I ask one clarifying question?
Yeah.
Is the possibility of Digital Learning Academy that it was originally, or it has gone back and forth with, something that can happen? I know the board will need to approve that name change, but how does that affect this application? Or does it? I didn't see any question on there for a name change. I'm assuming it's a different application.
So we would already have to amend this application because we do wish to check yes on that involvement
Yes.
with.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's on this application to change the name.
I believe it can be done through this application.
I don't think it's a big deal, it's just a different form.
Board Member Sanders, I believe it is a different form. So we would come back and bring it different, we'll be bringing the form with the request for a name change.
Okay,
With that-
we won't meeting for a month, so, it's either we'll make them
Right.
amend it right now.
And then come back with the name change.
Can you amend it? Because right now PED knows it as this, correct? So.
Can I make another suggestion? That, because it is, I'm almost positive that you'll need to bring back a specific name to us for approval. That if you are going to advertise for it for next year, you note somewhere that there is a possible name change.
We can do that.
Just saying, until we can get it done.
We can do that.
You mean apply under the name, what name are you applying?
It has to be the name that PED knows it.
Yes.
And what is that name?
So this application is for the legal name of Los Lunas Family School, because that's what the school is currently listed at the PED with. But we believe there's another form
And it has. a
that could be
specific-
brought back to change the name.
And it has a specific number, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. It has the school code, I believe, of 18.
Okay.
It's 086018.
Los Lunas is 086. Okay.
It's 08608.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that the board approve the application with the corrected change regarding the involvement for yes from the Native American of the Los Lunas Family School reorganization.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Simoia and a second by Dr. Osowski to approve item K, presentation and approval, Los Lunas Family School reorganizing the application with, what's that other statement, Sonia?
With the change, and I apologize, I was trying to pull up on the application the exact
For page 5.
line. It's on page 5, and changing from no to yes, the question. Dun, dun, dun. If yes to any of the questions above, has the board/governing body involved, the tribal governing body or tribal education department in the final decision regarding this application? And again, it says the final decision of this application process, so once this is voted, we would need to notify our Native American liaison.
Did you get that, Ms. Wolf? Okay,
Just became more and more complicated. We got it.
good.
You got it.
All right. Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Simoia, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Passes by a vote of 5-0. We'll move to the next item, item L. It's a presentation and approval of Century High School significantly restructure and redesign. Superintendent Chavez.
Thank you, Board President Otero. I will welcome Ms. Chavez back to the podium.
Just gonna stand up here. Mr. President, members of the Los Lunas School Boards of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to speak about Century High School tonight. I have a team of people I'd like to bring up. So Ms. Amy Viramontes, Director of Professional Learning, who oversees Title I. Principal Claire Toledo, and incoming Principal Ms. Michaela Coffin-Smith. Coffin. So this is Century High School, and this is our proposal for a significantly restructure and redesign proposal. We are going to begin with our why, as we just wrapped up our wonderful graduation ceremonies. This is the class of 2026. So our why is this class, the classes before them, and the classes yet to come. So within this proposal, we'll be discussing some things for implementing for this school, and because these students all means all, and so we want to make sure that we are still supporting these students in every capacity. Next slide, please. We are providing you tonight with a timeline. All of this information has come directly from the PED with the timeline of this proposal for our application. On May 8th, 2026, the NM Dash Plan for the MRI and CSI graduation rates was to be submitted. It was submitted beforehand and it was already approved on May 7th, 2026. So the Dash Plan for CHS was already approved. And then it says on May 7th, 2026, but there is a change. It was May 11th originally. The PED opened up the application. It's released in the OBMS unified application that we spoke about last month. So it was released in there. And with that, we find some portions of the application do not open until the NM Dash Plan is approved. So we have been able to work in that. Very much so already. June 6th, the NM Dash Plan MRI graduation rate annual and fall plan drafts, that was the final approval for that. And with that, again, just stating CHS had been approved. June 2nd through July 9th. June 2nd, the MRI CSI applications in the unified application are due. They're expected to be completed. And during this time from June 2nd through June 9th is a revision process. And that will, if there's any feedback that is needed, we are able to provide that feedback to the PED for them to approve. By July 31st, graduation rate application is the final deadline for full approval. So once we have any revisions that we need to do between June 2nd through June 9th, July 31st is the final deadline for the PED to say it is complete. Once that application is complete, the funds will then be on August 3rd released to the LEAs, and the schools must have full documented approval in place to be able to submit a request for reimbursement. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to this lovely team.
Mr. President, members of the School Board of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to continue sharing about Century High School and our journey. Century High School started out as a CSI for graduation rate that was based on and this is not in your presentation, this is some just background, was based on the graduation rate from the class of 2017, 2018, and 2019. That was released post-pandemic in 2021. At that point, we were halfway through the second cycle that would have lasted 2020, 2021, and 2022. At the end of that cycle, CSI went on, or Century High School went on to MRI status. For the last 3 years, we have been in MRI status for graduation rate. And then we are just ending a 3-year cycle that was based on the graduating classes of 2023, 2024, and 2025. That graduating rate of 2025, 2024, and 2023 will determine the next cycle for Century High School. We have received those rates, and we are not exiting MRI status based on those rates. We are, again, could be MRI for any of these reasons below, but the reason that Century is designated as MRI is restricted or specifically graduation rate. Those other things on this slide could put a school on MRI status, but that is not what CHS is designated under. Next slide. Districts do have 3 choices in this process. The first choice is to restart the school. The second choice is called closure and reassignment. The third choice is called significantly restructure and redesign SSR. That is what we are recommending today, and throughout the slideshow we will share with you what all the pathways mean and what they're used for. All of these pathways, if they're selected, must align with the Every Student Succeed Act, the school and district needs, and the pathway should be selected based on school performance and the context of the community and its needs. Next slide. These are PED slides that we're just bringing to you the information that was given from the PED. The restart pathway involves a complete closure and then a reopening of the school. It requires major changing to leadership, complete overhaul to the staff and very significant changes to the instructional model. It's designed to produce transformational change. This is opening the school and potentially losing control over the school. Next slide. Okay. The restart pathway. We just did that slide, didn't we? Okay. When is restart used? Oh, that was the closure. No? Okay. When is restart used? Restart is used when there's persistent, extremely low graduation rates. So, you know, if Century had stayed in the 20-30% graduation rate, this would be the recommended from the PED. And it's used when there's limited improvement during previous stages of the MRI process. And it's used when it's need for structural redesign. The closure pathway is a strategic closure of persistently underperforming schools and focuses on minimizing disruption and transitioning students and families into other options. The closure requirements are a multi-year performance analysis, academic continuity plan, so making planning for those students to continue their academics smoothly at the schools that they're transitioning into, and community engagement about what those options look like for those students to transition if the school were to close. When the PED, this is directly from their slide deck, these ones that have kind of these blue bars with the orange, during their public presentation, they frequently touted what was possible through this process, what kind of gains could be made through diligent work through the MRI steps. Century High School was held up as one of the models. It was in the top 10 in the state for the highest graduation rate improvements. This past year, between 2024 and 2025, we did have a 20-point gain in our graduation rate. The cohort before that was a 10% gain. And so we'd had over a 10% gain followed by over a 20% gain, which is over a 30% gain during the last 3 cycles. And when the PED presented what is possible, they presented what is possible if you're diligently working the MRI steps and moving in the right direction. Next slide. So we are asking to significantly restructure and redesign. That means making comprehensive changes such as leadership, changes in staffing, changes in instructional practices, changes in school schedules, and student support systems. And these changes are required to address the underlying causes of low performance. Because Century has been a leading example in the state of New Mexico, according to the PED, we're suggesting, and the PED was suggesting, that we undergo significant restructure and redesign and continue the momentum we have going into this next 3-year cycle. Next slide. Am I still on? Okay. What is involved in the significantly restructure and redesign? Deep evidence-based planning, laser focus on graduation rate, identifying the root causes of low graduation rate, ensuring systematic change, and that was presented as formalizing and systematizing the things that we had discovered worked during the last 3-year cycle, which you'll hear more about in a little bit, and then strengthening accountability across all the systems and tightening them up to continue that upward trajectory. What does remain the same between the MRI process and the significantly restructure and redesign? Next slide. The NM- remains the core of the state-approved school improvement plan. That's why it was one of those early steps. That's where all the root cause analysis that you're going to hear about in a minute are held, and where the magic happens. The NMPED continues to review and approve the process of the school dash and the applications, just like they have during the MRI cycle. The LEA and board responsibilities include oversight of the expectations and requirements for use of evidence-based strategies. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Principal Coffin-Smith, who is our new incoming principal at Century for this next cycle.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Los Schools Board of Education, Superintendent Chavez.
I am here to discuss with you the MRI application for significantly restructure and redesigning for Century High School. First off, this path, not only was it recommended by the PED to continue on our trajectory of growth that's happened under the leadership of Ms. Toledo, it also maintains school continuity, builds on those prior improvement efforts, enables systemic change without the disruption of closure. It is required for students with persistent graduation challenges, although they have made growth. This focus will be on comprehensive redesign, and it targets improvements in graduation rate along with attendance and credit accumulation. Next slide. So the key components of the significantly restructure and redesign will focus on leadership changes. As Ms. Toledo stated, I am the incoming principal of Century High School. As well as looking at leadership, we will be transitioning into a model of shared leadership across the board at our school when we look at the systemic changes. Staffing adjustments will focus in on making adjustments to the individual roles of our staff members to make sure that their talents are utilized to the best of their abilities for the benefit of our students. Instructional redesign, focusing on intervention blocks, the use of high-quality instructional materials, and cycles of continuous improvement. Our scheduling restructure will look at a formalized extended day program for credit recovery, dedicated math and ELA intervention blocks. When we look at targeted student supports, we'll be increasing our availability of interventions through different programs, our extension of academic success during the school day, and looking at health and wellness of all of our students. Data-driven monitoring will look at those continuous improvement cycles that will focus on early warning systems. Next slide. Under the PED guidance for instructional redesign, they ask us to focus on data-driven instruction, targeted interventions, early warning systems, and targeted support for English language learners, students with disabilities, Native American students, and economically disadvantaged students. Next slide. As it was alluded to in our New Mexico annual and 90-day plan, we looked at a current snapshot of the performance and analyzed that data. The most current graduation rate that we currently have is the 2025, which was at 53%. 2024 was 33%. 2023 was 23%, which notes that incredible growth. Our current chronic absenteeism snapshot at the time that this was created was at 67% of our students missing 10% or more of the school year. Looking at our SAT cohort 2027 scores, those are our current juniors, 3% were meeting benchmark in mathematics, 21% meeting benchmark in English language arts according to the SAT. Progress learning for our 9th and 10th graders, which is a PSAT equivalent, 30% of our 10th graders were meeting benchmark in math, as well as our 9th graders, and 42% were meeting benchmark in ELA. Next slide. Historically, as you can see, we had increasing rates of absenteeism and looking at our graduation rates in combination with that. Although we are seeing some high absenteeism, we are also are seeing an increase in graduation rate through different programs with credit recovery. Next slide. Looking at student group gaps, currently economically disadvantaged students have a graduation rate of 44%. Our ELL and our Native American student subgroups are too small to currently report. Our special education students have a 65% graduation rate. After analyzing the data, root causes identified were some inconsistencies in the instructional rigor, low student engagement, high absenteeism trends, and some gaps in targeted supports. Next slide. Significantly restructure and redesign both the PED, and we feel is the right choice because it does build on the existing infrastructure and the gains that Century has made. It targets the systemic issues directly. It avoids disruption that closure and restart would cause to not only our students, but to our community. And it aligns with the NMPED requirements as well as the ESSA requirements. Next slide. For the instructional redesign, we of course will be utilizing our standards-aligned highly qualified instructional materials and making sure that there are strong expectations around the use of those. Continuation of intentional use of credit recovery programs with a systemic approach. We'll be introducing strong data-driven instructional cycles to target interventions to students who are not demonstrating the academic performance that we would like them to demonstrate. We'll be focusing on literacy and math in particular. We will also be introducing more rigorous sheltered instruction strategies into our classes to make sure that we are serving the needs of our English language learner subgroups and students as they acquire language. Next slide. From an operational standpoint, looking at formalizing our extended learning time program, as well as our dedicated interventions into dedicated blocks within our master schedule, and then formalizing our attendance intervention teams led by our Dean of Students, social worker, counselor as part of our health and wellness initiative. Next slide. As stated, the instructional leadership will be restructuring with my joining the CHS family, as well as redesigning roles of our teachers and other staff members and what that looks like within the instructional framework. We'll be providing ongoing professional development and coaching and making sure that there are clear accountability systems for staff and for students. Next slide. So we have very lofty goals at Century High School. Our attendance strategy, our goal is to reduce chronic absenteeism to 20%. We are going to be utilizing an early warning system to drive intervention plans that try or attempt to address the root causes of our students' attendance so that we're providing the interventions and the wraparound services needed to get our students to school. We're going to be looking at increasing our family engagement opportunities through multiple means, continuing and strengthening community partnerships and those with the Pueblo of Isleta, and hoping in the future for being able to offer district-provided transportation. Next slide. For graduation, great gains have been made in this area. Our goal, of course, is that lofty 67% or more for an average of 2 out of 3 years. So we do have to reach and maintain an average of 67% or more for 2 out of the 3-year MRI cycle. Part of our goal or part of our plan for reaching this goal is to continue performing regular credit audits and to beef up that strategy, if you will, into a more regular cycle. With our formalized extended day program, we'll be looking to increase outreach to our students and making sure that they are more closely progress monitored for credit accumulation. We will be introducing personalized graduation portfolios through our academic success class that focuses in combination with our graduate profile and pathways to build college and career ready students by the end of their time at Century High School. And then again, with summer school, making sure that that is formalized and systematic so that we're catching students as quickly as possible to make those credit recovery efforts. Next slide, please. For monitoring and accountability, we are monitored by the PED through New Mexico Dash. We also complete the 30, 60, 90 days. That monitoring is done not only by the school district, but also by the PED. We have additional monitoring visits from the school improvement teams that visit 3 times per year and provide the team feedback on areas of growth and systemic change. Our continuous improvement cycles partially or will be based upon those school improvement team monitoring visits, as well as what we're seeing within the classrooms through walkthroughs and our other accountability systems. Next slide. So Ms. Toledo did cover the options of restart and closure. And so those options are not being presented to you because restart would cause high disruption to our community with additional staffing turnover and loss of district control of the personnel. Closure would mean permanent student displacement and community impact. And significantly restructure and redesign provides a balanced and sustainable improvement model for Century High School, its students, and the community. Next slide. For projected outcomes, like I stated, our goals are an average over the next several years of 67% or more. Chronic absenteeism below 20%. We're also looking to raise our improved proficiency rates on the SAT and the NMSAR, which is the science test that our 11th graders take. And we want to see closing subgroup gaps as well.
Good evening, Board President Otero, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. So Century High serves as a model for alternative schools across the state. This success gives us confidence as we enter the SRR process, during which the district will fulfill specific responsibilities. Some of those responsibilities include verifying chosen interventions that meet ESSA Evidence Tier 1 through 3 standards, keeping detailed monitoring logs and oversight records for all school improvement activities, and reviewing and formally signing off on CSI and MRI school improvement plans before submitting the district's unified application. Next slide, please. Some of the school board's responsibilities will be to manage and guide the planning process for school improvement, to ensure district leaders are held responsible for school student results and all resources support improvement goals, and regularly checking progress updates to make sure improvement plans are being followed correctly and targets are being met. Next slide. For resource alignment and fiscal oversight, as the director in charge of Title I, I will ensure that funds are used in accordance with Title I guidance, and the board would ensure equity, compliance, and sustainability. Board oversight responsibilities include reviewing updates on how accurately school improvement plans and staff trainings are being carried out, guaranteeing staffing and funding directly address core problems of the district and provide equal access to wonderful teachers that we have in our district, and evaluating and backing district plans that adopt scheduling, staffing, and extra learning time. So reflecting on yesterday's graduation for Century High School, they truly embody the motto, all means all. We feel that significant restructure and redesign provides the most strategic, stable, and effective pathway to improve Century High School outcomes. Thank you. We stand for any questions.
Dr. Osowski.
Oh, I went first last time. Let me go last.
Okay. Dana Sanders.
So I have a question about the calculation of graduation rates. Do we still, let me just give an example.
They're like, that's a Ms. Toledo question.
So let me just ask maybe a little simpler question. So, or make a statement and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. So just for an example, if a student enters into Century High School in 10th or 11th grade, and they're already a reclassified sophomore, by enrolling that student, you are attaching that student to your graduation rate. Once you accept that student into, so in the natural sense, an alternative high school is for students who typically are behind. They are not necessarily, ninth graders may have dropped out, come back in 10th grade, now they're reclassified freshmen, and so you now have attached that graduation rate of a 5-year plan to your high school. Is that correct?
That's correct, and the state only measures the MRI status based on 4-year graduation rate.
Right.
Additionally, if the student
You're
does...
not letting me ask all my questions.
No, additionally, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so, all right, no, thank you.
And if they graduate, Las Lunas High School then recoups their portion of the rate, even though they arrived behind.
Right. So I just want to point out that the graduation rate at Century High School starts out at a disadvantage. And you need to try to overcome that in a 5-year or 6-year graduate.
Except that MRI status is only based on 4-year graduates.
I understand. So I want to point out that that makes this silly. So in regard to that, we are jumping through hoops. Is that, I mean, I'm saying it because I can. It's not what you're going to say, but really it's a hoop jumping at this point for what we have to do to keep Century High School open in its currents.
I believe Century High School can get there. I mean,
I don't doubt it either. But what I'm saying is we're jumping through some hoops to make that happen in this restructuring. And I'm talking about PED. I'm not talking about y'all, okay? So I know PED is, saying we gotta do this and we've gotta do that. I see some high schools that are on the list of really doing well that I have some experience with. And the things they're doing would not be something we would ever think about doing here. So I appreciate that. It sounds like a very solid plan to me. Thank you for what you've put together. And we shall move on.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for the presentation. This is wonderful. After seeing and shaking hands with those that did show up and managed to get their credits yesterday, I get angry at PED for saying that this is not viable. We are making leaps and bounds with that school under tremendous circumstances. What would you guesstimate the graduation rate will be for 2026?
So with graduation that just happened, I haven't had time to guesstimate it. An approximation without actually going spreadsheet, which I often do. They laugh because they've seen them. I'm still thinking the 54 to 56 for 2025. Or 2026, sorry. 2025 already was released at 53.5. So I'm expecting a small jump.
Small increase on that. So we're addressing, so basically, and this has been brought up by this board before, if you can't get them into school, you can't educate them, and they're not going to graduate. So we're addressing that. There's a magic number, 67% absenteeism. Ms. Toledo, you've been principal of that school. I'm sure you've had conversations with these students. Why are you missing? First of all, have we done a formal survey as to why they're missing?
Yes, we have.
And what is that number one root cause?
So basic needs, transportation, working, life circumstances, caring for siblings, all of those things come out high. We have a wonderful free store to address the basic needs. We have flexible scheduling to deal with the employment and caring for siblings and family members. The hybrid option provides a lot of flexibility. So we've done a lot to address those. But there's still lots more work to be done.
Okay. In your plan for improvement, how are we addressing the other issues that are leading to these, their root cause of their absenteeism?
So part of the restructure and redesign, when we look at roles within our leadership structure and our monitoring systems, we're going to be looking at that continued and improved or increased community support and options for students to receive wraparound services. Part of the opportunity that we have as well to leverage our hybrid model and to systemize processes that Ms. Toledo has put in place to ensure that students are not falling through any cracks once they do come to Century or if they do transfer out. Part of that as well is looking to expand our student body base. Additionally, so catching students as they transition from middle into high school, where students who have high absentee rates, maybe at their middle schools, would continue to have struggle maybe at the more comprehensive high schools. If we can get them into Century and provide support starting in the 9th grade around absenteeism and basic needs, things like that, we're hoping to start with a cohort of 9th graders and continue to move them through the next 4 years so that they are also on-time graduates.
Has PED given any suggestions as to how to improve this? I'm curious.
Our suggestions from the PED do come through our Title I coordinator here with the New Mexico Be Here recommendations.
Additionally, there's a rubric that they've been working under for the last couple years that they monitor at those sit visits. The school improvement team, when the PD comes, there's a large rubric and they ask us to look at 4 or 5 areas every time. So some of them include like things as simple as record keeping, monitoring where they go after they leave you, and some of them are much more complex, like redesigning instruction or some of the things Ms. Coffin is suggesting around high quality materials, increasing instructional rigor, bringing in pathways. So some of them are very lofty and some of them are very procedural. And so there's these 37 high leverage practices that each year of SIT cycle kind of focuses on, in addition to the their underlying systems design portions of this process that are kind of their recommendations of what has worked.
And does PED give you 3 years to accomplish this, or is this a 3-year cycle?
So the designations are in a 3-year cycle. We're currently at 53.5. If, say, the class of 2026 had a 80% graduation rate and 80% and 53 average to 67, we would be removed from designation. So you can take any 2 consecutive years and average them to 67, or you can have 2 years over 67 to exit the process.
You actually need 72.5 for 2 consecutive years.
It's a 70, it would be averaged with the 53.5 we currently have. So in the 70-something.
I used a 54
Okay.
and rounded it up to 74.
Yeah, so we would need like in the mid-70s to average with the 54 to come out to a 67. And we could exit with 1 high year, but it would have to average with the prior year.
Okay, I get that. So question for you regarding the reporting, because boy, when we review this, there's board. Talk to me about frequency of reporting to the board on this. I don't, it says the board will receive regular reports. Define what you would think would be regular reporting to this board.
It would continue to be a monthly report to the board. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If that's what you would like, and we can do that.
Come every 2 months. Whatever the board wishes.
Whatever the board wishes. Good. All right. I appreciate everything you guys do to grab those students, engage them. I really do. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lucas.
Thank you for the presentation. I know you guys have a tough row to hoe. But what frustrates me is the PED has this 4-year requirement, and so they're after check boxes for a program,
Yeah.
ignoring the students and individual needs. And it seems to me that they should look at, okay, so if you didn't graduate in 4 years, did the others make progress? Are they on track? Will they graduate? You know, it's just a frustration that, you know, these kids start at a deficit. They start with stumbling blocks in their way, and to just try to fit them in that hole of a 4-year graduation it's not even logical to try to do that. I don't know how to change that.
We're going to do our best.
That's all I've got.
Dr. Selsky.
So I attended the spring budget conference, and I attended every single one of the workshops that had to do with this. And one of the schools that has come out of it, which is our neighbor, is in Belen. So I spent time with the Belen superintendent and his leadership team that was there, trying to find out what they do differently. Because it can be done, and every alternative school is under the same barriers that we're under. So we don't have to like it, but that is what it is, and other schools have come out of it. So doing some quick math, like I just said, we have to have 2 consecutive years at 72.5% minimum. Or we could have 1 year at a beautiful 80-something and then not have to have 72. We would have 74 or something, or like 69 or 70. And then I go back and I look at our track record for graduation rates. And I see that the year that we took the biggest jump in a graduation rate, and I know you guys have done lots of great stuff because I sat over with you with one of your PED conferences, but we also, that was when we introduced the GRIP program, where we pay kids to get their credits that they need. The PED comes out, remember we approved that because we had to have that?
Ma'am, that year we had 0 participants from Century in the GRIP program. Yes, Century did not participate in the first year.
This year, we have quite a few in the 53% graduation rate.
No, ma'am, the 52 graduation rate does not include the 53.5 that's currently on our 2025. The class of 2025 at Century did not participate in
I
GRIP.
understand that, but with the 56% that you said that you're guesstimating for the class of 2026, we did have students in the GRIP.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
So, the next thing is, we have yet, this year, approved NM dash plans. We did those over a year ago in the summer. We have not seen those. That's a requirement by code. So what I go through, and after sitting through those particular conferences and understanding what significant restructuring looks like, I'm concerned that this isn't giving the board enough information. And let me be more specific. Introducing high-quality instructional materials is something that's going to happen across the district. And so that's a nice change. But I still am not understanding how instructional leadership restructuring, because the PED was really clear in their presentations that just changing out the principals and renaming committees is not considered significant restructuring. And they were very clear in every single one of the workshops that I went into. They said they wanted to see significant differences, and I don't see that in this plan. I see that we talk about instructional leadership restructuring, but I don't know what that looks like and how it differs from what we have now. And I do have a copy of these presentations because I took one of them home after the budget thing. I also don't understand what a clear accountability system is and how that will impact. I don't understand how that's going to help with a significant restructuring. And I appreciate the attendance strategy of going down from 67% chronic absenteeism down to 20% and putting in early warning systems and trying to increase family engagement. And we're hoping that community partnerships, maybe with the pathways that the board passed tonight, even though Century High has the lowest number of pathways that we have, is going to help our attendance strategy. I worry about that. I don't think that we've actually really thought about this, and I definitely don't feel like I have enough information. When I go to the graduation improvement plan, seeing regular credit audits as an improvement plan is alarming, but does that suggest that you haven't been monitoring it? And personalized graduation portfolios. I'd like to hear more about that. So, although I see that there's great conversation here, I don't see a significant restructure and redesign plan in front of the board. That is not to be confused with the work that you guys are already doing. I've seen some of the work. I've sat in some of those conferences, or one conference. I've listened to parents who have their kids over there, and they appreciate everything that we offer very, very much. I don't doubt dedication and drive and desire. I don't see the details in this plan to say that it's significantly restructured. I see lots of thoughts, but I don't see a significant plan. And that's what is a requirement for us to go to a significant restructure and redesign plan. So for me, it's a nice outline, but it's not a plan. So, but I appreciate all of the work, and I know that the staff works hard. Talked with several of them. I got to talk with several of them up at the Robing and then at the academic, or yesterday and whatnot. I don't think it's a staff issue and not what we're not trying to do. This plan to me falls short. That's all.
Okay, I don't have too many questions. How many kids do you, after graduating, how many kids do you have left, or students anyway?
So what is our remaining student enrollment
Yeah.
after our graduation from yesterday? Let me do the math really quick. We have 175 students left between our 9th and our 11th graders who have not graduated currently because they're still working on their graduation plans. We have about 20 coming from the family school who are current 8th graders who will be matriculating into Century High School. And that's not including several of the middle schoolers currently at Valencia Middle School and at Las Lunas Middle School who have already held enrollment meetings with us to come and start with us as brand new freshmen. In addition to that, I've visited both Valencia Middle School and Las Lunas Middle School to introduce Century High School as a viable option for graduation pathways to those middle school students, really articulating the opportunities that we have to service all of our students here in this district who are looking for individualized pathways. And we also enroll students from outside of our district, students from Albuquerque, students from Belen who are looking for an additional opportunity.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I move that we approve item L, presentation and approval of Century High School significantly restructure and redesign.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Sanders to approve item L, presentation and approval of Century High School significantly restructure and redesign. We have a second by Mrs. C. Moya. Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
No?
Mr. Rickers, how do you vote?
Are we supposed to have discussion?
Correct. Discussion.
Can we have a little bit of discussion? Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
I don't know if this is discussion exactly, but what can this board do to help you reach those goals? Thanks.
So the board can support Century High School in meeting these goals by working with us to provide opportunities for our students, to opening up pathways for students who need an opportunity outside of our comprehensive high schools to meet the goal of a high school diploma and to be college and career ready when they leave Century High School and Las Lunas schools. Looking at things such as how can we work on providing transportation as well as the equitable staffing and pathways that we need to make sure that our students are just as ready as Valencia High School and Las Lunas High School students on entering the workforce and the college pathway.
I agree with both of those, transportation and equitable pathways.
So given that, I think what I'd like to see going forward is clear numbers every month. How many are eligible for graduation? And then how is progress going? And what are we doing with the students that are slipping?
Absolutely.
And what could we do in our role to help you with whatever staffing, funding, whatever is needed to make that happen?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The way that I foresee this going forward, knowing that this is going to come to us on a monthly basis, is that's where the details are going to come. And I can also see that there is no way that you could put on a plan exactly what's going to happen until you know what the needs are of each individual student. And that's what you do at Century High School. So the details will come when you present to us on a monthly basis with numbers, but also what are you doing in the classroom differently and how you're doing that. That is why I think it's a great plan, because I don't think the details are in what you needed to present to us tonight, but rather what you talked to us about on a monthly basis.
Yes, ma'am.
No other debate? You want me to go ahead and take the vote? And you vote later?
I'm sorry, what?
Talking to Mr. Vickers, are you gonna vote now or are you gonna?
Oh, I'm done with discussion. If everybody else is, I vote yes.
Ms. Seymour, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes?
And I vote yes. The vote passes by a vote of 4-1. We'll move to item, Finance Committee item number M4A, Imagine Learning Curriculum Instruction for Digital Credit Recovery, 11,000 operational. Dr. Osowski.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. What I'm interested in knowing is, what is this? Is it a curriculum? Is it only for credit recovery? Where will it be used? Because for instance, in the plan we just saw, I only saw Edgenuity, so I'd like just a little bit more information, and then I'd like the cost on it, please.
Dr. Osowski, members of the board, I will defer that question to Ms. Toledo and Ms. Chavez.
Mr. President, members of the Las Lunas School Board of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for the opportunity to speak about this purchase with Imagine Learning. So Imagine Learning covers our curriculum that we use with our hybrid students at Century High School. It included with the purchase for Century High School is the 7-8 curriculum at no additional cost that is used by Las Lunas Family School. It also includes these e-dynamic electives, our original credit electives for students in the hybrid program at Century High School. And then it also includes a credit recovery portion of the program. That credit recovery is used at all 3 high schools.
So would this be replacing Edgenuity? No.
This is the more current version of Edgenuity. Edgenuity has upgraded to Imagine Learning. They've merged with other companies. It is for the EdgeX, which is the modernized, updated curriculum from Edgenuity.
And what is the cost?
The cost is $142,965. And it's a renewal.
Yes, it's a renewal.
It's a renewal.
Yes.
On the Finance Committee document, it said that it's a renewal of, so it is an enhancement of a current program, a renewing program?
It's been in use in the district since 2022. And then prior to that, we had gone with another company for 3 or 4 years. And then that company's product was, we redid a curriculum adoption around 2022. I don't have the exact date of it. And we vetted 5 or 6 companies and a team of teachers, a team of central office, a team from different departments, and parents, students. We went through a curriculum adoption process at that time when we selected to return back to Edgenuity.
So has that curriculum been presented to the board for approval? Because that's also a code requirement.
So, members of the board, Dr. Osowski, it was the instructional materials. It wasn't actually the curriculum. It was the instructional materials, and that was presented to the board at that time.
At that time?
Correct. I know we use those terms interchangeably, but we need to focus that it's HQIM versus curriculum.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation. Mr. President,
Yes.
I move to approve item M, Finance Committee. Number 4, approval of purchase for A, Imagine Learning Curriculum and Instructional Design, credit recovery from the 11,000 fund, operational in the amount of $142,965.
I second that.
One moment.
Sorry.
All right, we have a motion to approve Finance Committee item M4A, Imagine Learning, curriculum instruction for digital credit recovery, 11,000 operational. We have a motion from Dr. Osowski. We have a second from Mr. Vickers. Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Simoy, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That passes by a vote to 5-0 and 1 duck.
I graduated, by the way.
Okay, we'll move to item M6, approval of fine arts education grant application 2026-2027 between New Mexico PED and Los Angeles Schools. Dr. Osowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm wanting clarification of what this grant is for. What is the amount? What does it incorporate?
Board Member Dr. Osowski, members of the board, I will defer that question to Ms. Chavez.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Osowski, what this is the assurance for the Fine Arts Education Grant. And this is a grant we use for K through 6, and it's to support supplies and materials for our art and music programs and our 6th grade band students. And we do not know the allocation of this grant yet because this is due May 31st, and I cannot submit the form for the grant until we have the assurances uploaded, and then we will receive the allocation amount. But it is a yearly renewal.
On the application, it says renewal, so what did we receive previously from this grant? Any idea, Ms. Tracy?
I think it's a Sandy Tracy question finally.
It is.
Sandy, you're up.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. So this is part of the SEG, and I just put my computer away, but I could go back to the SEG calculation and look at the area for fine arts. So it matters how many students we have in our MEM for the elementary students. And then it has the unit value is a component also. So it is, every year, it's part of the SEG. So the difference ended up being when whatever we have in our MEM for elementary students, so.
Okay.
So with us accepting that, we let them know ahead that we still plan on having a fine arts in our elementaries, and then because of that, it becomes part of our calculation. So it's not like you're gonna see any separate award, or if we've already told them that we plan on having the fine arts each year. And so it's already calculated in our SCG for the 26-27 year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. President,
Yes, Dr. Salzman.
I move to approve item M, Finance Committee items number 6, approval of fine arts education grant application for the 26-27 school year between NM-PED and Los Lunas Schools.
We have a motion by Dr. Osowski to approve Finance Committee item M6, approval of fine arts education grant application 2026-2027 between NMPED and LLS. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Mrs. Seymour. Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Seymour, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Passes by a vote of 5-0. We'll move to item N on the agenda, new business. Board members' request for topics for upcoming board work sessions and/or board meetings. I believe we're probably only going to have one meeting next month. So we'll start with Dina Sanders.
I think that we still have board policy that we need to look at, and we'll just keep repeating that until we actually get that in our plate, right?
Yes. Ms. Seymour.
I'm going to agree with that statement. I think we have a lot on the list that we need to accomplish. We have a couple of things going on in June, school board conference, and then a regular meeting, and then I believe the board is going to do our annual retreat in July, plus a regular board meeting, so I think we are full for the summer right now.
Mr. Vickers.
I don't have anything.
Dr. Osowski.
I agree with everything that's been said, but 2 things that were raised tonight. We need to see dash plans, and we also need to have a science curriculum. It's 2 years past its due date.
Okay. And I agree with all of you. Okay, we'll move to item O, announcements of meetings. Tomorrow night, May 20th, 2026, we have a presentation by the New Mexico State Auditor or his deputy and approval of the special audit that is here in the conference room at 5 p.m. June 4th through the 6th, 2026, NMSBA School Law Conference at Embassy Suites Hotel, 1000 Woodward Place Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico. A quorum may be in attendance. Training purposes only, no decisions will be made. June 9th, 2026, Audit Committee here at the conference room. Attendance by invitation only, and that's at 4 p.m. June 9th, 2026, Finance Committee here at the conference room. That's at 4:30 p.m. June 23rd, 2026, regular board meeting here at the boardroom. That's at 5 p.m. And the last item is adjournment. I'd stand for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion by Dr. Osowski and second by Ms. Sanders. Ms. Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Seymour, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dr. Osowski, how do you vote?
Oh, gosh, should I say no, just to make it interesting? Or yes?
You're up
And I vote
already.
yes. We're adjourned 5-0.
So he had to fix my Tina, get it off of the crack one and put it on.
What you got?
Outward. So that was good. Okay, so they got that. Yes, and
Lisa, do you want to leave those for tomorrow? Lisa, do you want to leave those for tomorrow? Do you want to leave those for tomorrow?
What do you need? Oh, well, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just she.